couldn't see the bird. Everyone else saw it. It's as big as a freaking ship. Marina? Marina looks the other way.
Bird? Like one of those flarkin' owls from Gahul?
With that, welcome everyone to this episode of the Cheap Seat Critics podcast, where today we are covering Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas, the 2003 animated film. With me today we have...
Hello, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Geeky Rider.
I'm Crimson and Spr1nks.
And I'm Sprinks. Was Guardians of Cool a DreamWorks movie? Did we connect those properly?
I don't know. Wasn't Disney. I don't...
No, it's not Disney. I just don't know if that reference was right. Anywho, could be off, but you know what's not off? Our socials. There's always on for you to leave comments, concerns, and whatever you'd like. And that's over on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Ski, as well as LetterBoxd, where we have our averaged out numbers and graphs of what we do and coverage and whatnot, as well as YouTube and Rumble for visual side of things. But maybe you're not a visual enjoyer. Don't worry, we got audio platforms out there if you just want to tune in for the audio.
Precisely. As mentioned, we are doing Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas. And I think I would like for us to start with our histories with this film. And we'll start with Spr1nks.
Sweet. I have a quote here for you. I've heard about it, read about it, never actually seen it.
Read about it.
Yeah, I've read about Sinbad and like other DreamWorks movies. Like it's been in up there with like its Age of Robots. Nope, that was Blue Sky Studios. That was not DreamWorks, I don't think. But like stuff like early on, like Shrek, El Dorado, Prince of Egypt, stuff like that. So I have read about it, but this is my first time I've ever seen it for the pod, and I think I own a copy of it.
All right. Writer.
Heard about it. Seen nothing of it. And yeah, I'm trying to think if I actually have like seen or interacted with it in any way, and I don't think I have.
For some reason I seem to remember you like owning it when you moved or something. I remember like a box of movies.
I did have a bunch of boxes of movies, but I don't remember us owning this because I feel like this
maybe
is
I took
one I would have liked growing up. Maybe you did.
Fuzzy memory. A while ago. All right. I'll go with mine. Not as comprehensive as you guys, because you guys divulge a lot. No, I have seen this maybe 6, 7 times, I guess. Definitely a movie I watched as a kid, and I hadn't seen it since maybe middle school, so definitely over a decade, or about a decade, I'd say.
Middle school over a decade.
About a decade. All right, I corrected. I figured out what the time
Okay.
was.
I'm like, how old are you?
So yeah, 6, 7 times, and I didn't really own any merchandise. I don't even know if they made. I feel like they made like toys, like McDonald's or Burger King.
Oh,
toys.
this absolutely feels like a Burger King toy.
I feel like they did, but I don't think I owned anything of it. But there's not much to it. That's a movie I'd watch with my sister. That's about it. Anything before jumping into facts that I have found on the internet?
That's all the history I got. Even like interviews of Brad Pitt talking about like other works of his filmography, I feel Sinbad's never brought up to my knowledge.
It was his first voice acting role. Found that in my facts.
Oh, well.
Did a decent job.
Yeah.
All right. Into facts we go. I'll start as I tend to do with the budget. Had a budget of $60 million and a box office of $80.77 million. So it lost money. It lost money. Yeah.
Oh,
Which is
no.
DreamWorks in the time of early Pixar was losing money? What?
Yeah. I blame Pixar for killing off this great animation style, though.
Yeah, we just don't see this anymore.
Hand drawn.
2D, 3D mixtures. Yeah,
Except
Pixar killed it. You
Looney
gotta remember.
Tunes blew up the world. Advocate for that animation.
yeah, just 20 years later.
True, but I mean, like nowadays kind of thing.
Yeah. Uh, we'll go piggybacking off of them losing money is a fact I found. The original storyline for the film was to focus on the first voyage of Sinbad. Then it would be followed by 6 sequels following on the other 6 voyages he had. However, after the box office disappointment of The Road to El Dorado, Jeffrey Katzenberg decided on having one movie with which didn't focus on just one voyage.
Yep. Mm.
They were expecting this to be 7 movies.
Could have been.
It's crazy.
There is something here. I just needed a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of tightening up.
there's stuff here. Planning like 7 movies is wild on a new property.
Back
like that.
then, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Shrek is their goated horse, and he doesn't have 7 movies.
Unless we're counting the spin-offs.
I'm like, he's lucky if he's gonna get 5. But
Yeah. This is the last 2D animated DreamWorks animation film, at least as of when this fact was written. I don't think they've added anything else to the catalog. Which is kind of wild that it's been over 20 years that they've done any 2D stuff.
interesting. What year did this come out?
2003.
This was their last hand drawn one, huh?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
In order to
CGI
get
is cheaper and faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yes, it
Disney
is.
or Walt Disney Studios had 6 years then on them because their last one was Princess of the Frog, and that was 2009, I think.
Yeah, I mean, even that had a gap between was it Atlantis or was it
Oh, Atlantis was
Treasure
2001,
Planet?
2000. Yeah.
Treasure Planet then. Or, I don't know. There wasn't much in between that with Princess of the Frog. That was kind of like a little blip in
Of
the
hand drawn,
timeline.
yeah. Then you have like stuff like Bolt and uh,
G-Force.
well, I don't know if that counts. Um, Trying to think of the other Walt Disney Animation Studio stuff that was in the 2000s. Wreck-It Ralph? No, that was probably later.
Probably 2010s.
I don't know.
That's all right. So in order to get a U rating, which is the equivalent to a G rating in America, the British Board of Film Classification required that 12 seconds featuring a headbutt had to be removed. So um, this had to be 12 and up rating because of a headbutt.
Oh, I'm
Because
like,
it's
there was
British.
a 12-second headbutt that they cut down? That's crazy.
They, I guess, just cut out the chunk that had the headbutt, which I don't know why you would need 12 seconds with that, but yeah, so that was a little interesting.
Huh.
You can't have a headbutt in a G movie. And
What's violence?
yeah, I guess, but
It
sword
is
fights are
violence.
okay. Sword
Yeah,
fights,
that-
okay.
I was playing
Hey,
pretend.
this is the British we're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's
It
not
makes
actually
sense.
causing harm.
No, not at all. Catherine Zeta-Jones, who played Marina, was the first actor cast for the film. She never realized that the voices came first and the animation came second.
Oh.
Found that
Did
a
she think
little
it was
interesting.
kind of the thing where she'd be following along with the animation and sync up?
That she would voice over it. I
Yeah,
guess.
like
Yeah,
dub work.
she was dubbing work. Yeah.
Huh.
Mhm.
I mean, there's sometimes where they can do it with the storyboard artists to give you a layout, like
Yeah.
visual side, but
So she learned that on this film. For the production of this film, they used 8 different dogs for the vocals of Spike.
that's cool.
I don't really know why they needed 8 dogs. I feel like one would have been okay, but they used 8 dogs. And I couldn't find whether or not they were like
Same
employees'
breed
dogs or
or
something, but I didn't. Well, the main dog was a English bulldog named Harvey. That was the one that had the most involved. But oh, kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. The sea monster was originally going to be a fire-breathing bull named Taurus, but the animators realized that Taurus can't swim in the ocean.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
that's probably for the best.
Kind of a weird thing to realize later. Like, it said the animators, not the writers, so that made it to the animators when they're like, you know what, this doesn't make sense. Huh.
Were they expecting the bull to like fly around on like fire, like propel
I don't know.
itself off the ocean, or
I didn't find anything past this other than that was the original idea of the first monster was Taurus.
weird?
Yeah. Speaking of the original monster, the sea monster was originally an Elmo puppet that they used to like do the mock up for it.
They CGI'd over it and shit like that. That's
That's
kind of
cool.
funny.
Need a frame of reference.
Yeah. Speaking of reference, that was a good segue to my last point.
You're welcome.
There was no live action reference for the fight choreography. That was all just animated without reference.
I
Pretty impressive then.
Yeah,
think.
that's
yeah,
unorthodox.
You can tell in
You
certain
can
scenes,
tell.
but I still think yeah, there's definitely some scenes where you can tell, but I think overall it's actually okay despite that then. It's kind of impressive what they managed to do with it.
It's very fluid.
Sure.
Sure. Okay. Guess we'll dive more into that when we get into it. Um, and that would be it for my facts. There was a boatload of facts for this film. It was pretty wild. Most of it talking about the history of Eris as a mythological entity.
Ooh.
It's not really applicable to the movie because they don't talk about it. So, anything before jumping into the coverage?
No, I had no facts of my own.
All right, nothing.
All right. We will be doing popcorn. You can jump anywhere. Go with the beginning or the very end. Doesn't really matter. Make it insightful and interesting. Let's start with Sprinks.
Sweet. I'm gonna pull a writer and give an overall broad question, kind of
All
thing.
right.
Where are the other gods?
There aren't
Why
any.
does Eris have free range to do all this without consequences of anyone else? Is she the only god over the mortal earth of this
Yeah,
world?
I got so many questions. That is one of them.
And if she is the only one and is actually doing physical things that everyone can see, probably because her first devilish dealing isn't with Sinbad, why isn't she worshipped more or well known more? If she's the only
Also, she
one.
can physically do things too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an aspect they really dive into. Maybe if they had 6 other movies, but we know she has statues, so she is known.
she's on
Um,
temples. That's how
we
she
know
refers to it sometimes.
we know Sinbad referred to like pray to the gods, so that it does establish that they at least believe in other
Plural.
gods.
Yeah. Whether
Um,
they're real or not.
and yeah, so
I'm
that's
going
the
with they're not real
extent.
because they clearly don't care.
No.
If gods can just interfere with the world, that they don't care.
Yeah, she's the goddess of chaos, which giving her a specific attribute kind of makes you feel like there'd be other goddesses of other things, and instead
True,
of
but
just being Eris the goddess.
she can toy with
But she
like
can go in and
any
actually.
astronomical creature to her
Yeah, she's like a
will.
cosmic being. Yeah.
I
Um,
mean, and deeper than that, for story implications, she has no reason to even recruit somebody. She could just walk in and take the book of peace and leave because she can physically just do that.
True, but that's
I mean,
not
she kind of has
chaotic.
fun. Yeah, I mean, she has fun toying with humanity. So I didn't have an issue with that because I did write that as like, that might be a talking point.
No, her goal is to reshape the world, right?
True, but she wants to
True,
have fun
true.
doing
So
it.
my point is that there's hundreds of years in this world before this even happened, and she could have taken the book at any point.
To me, I see it
I
like
mean,
Metro Man from Megamind. Like when he freezes time and just goes about saying like what to do with my life. He wants to have fun. He can't just have like all this power and just do everything so easily, and it just becomes boring. I feel like Eris is kind of the same. If she can just walk in and take the book whenever she wants to, she has the power to do so, but it's not fun to her.
And who's to say she hasn't played with humanity before this? Maybe the book is just a thing now that she cares about.
Well,
Maybe
if the
she did
temple,
other
yeah, if the
stuff.
temples have
So,
depictions of her, then she's been prevalent somehow.
If she had whimsy, the film would need to depict that. Like if that was her thing, she would need to be more whimsical about how she goes about enacting her plans and lack thereof.
I feel like she's pretty whimsical.
Do you think this movie lacks time length to be able to compact more
I mean, this film would
structure?
benefit for 10 minutes from an extra 10 minutes that could be utilized in either world building and plot development and character development. Yes.
Okay, just curious.
Uh, so I guess on the prod question, they established that she exists. I don't. There's
That's
mention of
true. She
gods.
does exist.
There's mentions of gods, but there's no proof of other gods. And there's proof that they know of her existence through the temples, and she is visible to them.
Is
So,
her, because I don't recall um, the statues you're bringing up that she exists with these other gods. Is it just her statue, or are there statues of her with these other forms?
oh,
And
we
if
don't see
so,
the statue.
oh, we don't see.
It's
Okay.
it's when Sinbad's in like the bubble under the water after getting drugged down. She's like, "You've seen temples of me," and she does like that bat pose.
Oh, okay.
Um, so she establishes that they have temples of her on it, and he's like, they don't do justice to your looks or something like that. He said. So
Okay.
they know of her, just don't know the severity of it.
We don't know the severity of the pantheon in this universe.
Because we do know they're shocked to see her by the end of the movie. So,
Well, yeah, because she's a big, scary monster god.
well, yeah, but if she was like very commonplace and since like it was her, they'd be like, well, maybe it is her. She does kind of screw
Is
around with everybody.
is her plan uh mostly just to cause chaos, or
I
Yeah,
think
she's the
so.
goddess of chaos. Yeah, that's
yeah, so she has no other goal beyond just causing chaos.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
Dominoes.
eventually, I think she'd give the book back just to change things up.
She could have because
If that were
her she
true, I would have liked that to be established because I don't have enough to infer that.
I mean, she
I'm
kind
going
of
based off of what
does.
she was given as a character.
well
Well,
she gives it on obligation.
Yeah, she gets tricked, but she
yeah,
chose to
they
do
frame
so.
it as an obligation.
Yeah.
No, I mean with like the glowing X on her activating and stuff, it's kind of like a
No,
mystical
it's a visual
contract.
cue to imply that she's like bound by her word to give it
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. But also in that moment, I saw that as only Sinbad having a safety tether net and not actually like scheming to go about it to make her abide to that.
Oh, he was lucky.
Yeah, like in
He
the
did
moment,
not
he
realize
had
he was
no clue.
trapping her.
No,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was not an elaborate plan on his part.
no. But I can see her going forward and doing it because it's like a chaotic move. Like, no way you're going to do this, or even if you do, like, wise one, kind of like the chaos nature of it.
No, I'm fine with that. Well, the part of the plan that doesn't make sense to me is like why the need for his friend to die because she wanted to cause chaos in that manner. Like that is the reason that we were given explicitly by the story that this is why she wanted the Book of Peace at all, which is to kill Proteus.
Yes, she said
Because killing the
with Proteus
heir
dead, there'd be no heir to the kingdom, and the kingdom would
fall to,
crumble and
yeah, and look like the realm of
chaos.
Yeah,
chaos, kind of.
well, yeah, she wants to recreate the realm of chaos and Tartarus as the real world. That's what she wants to do to it. She wants to have fun on her way there, but that's ultimately her goal.
I
I
mean,
don't
she's not even
necessarily need
that
to do.
worried about losing either. I mean, she had like the upset, like I got tricked, but then she's like, "You keep it not that cute," and walks away. I have other things to do. Uh, she's a god. Who
She
knows
had
how old
fun.
she is? Yeah, I mean, if she
Yeah, like I said,
fails once, she
I'm
can come
not
back.
disagreeing that she doesn't have fun. I'm just my point is like I don't understand the even the motivation to just like enact the plan in the first place.
I mean,
Eh,
she was looking at the globe and saw a noble prince, a priceless treasure, and a black-hearted thief, as she quoted. I think she just saw an opportunity for some fun.
And
Uh,
she's clearly not omniscient, because then she would absolutely know that Sinbad's not a black-hearted thief.
No, no, she was testing
yeah,
his
she's
waters,
fallible. Yeah.
and where his fate would lie and go because she was just toying with him. But I don't think Sinbad's smart enough to toy with her. He was
Yeah.
flirtatious, but he wasn't trying
Yeah.
to lead her anyway.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Oh, cool. That was my big
So
broad one. But
yeah, big Eris talk. I'm sure we'll have more points with her going forward. Let's go with the writer.
Sure. I was just surprised to hear Brad Pitt. Just simple one. I'll go. We wanted to broad on just something simple. I was just funny to hear Brad Pitt's voice. I didn't expect him because I'd
I,
never seen the film before.
I didn't expect Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah. I don't remember her name in
She was Eris.
Janet. Janet Pym or whatever.
Oh, yeah, not Selena
Uh,
Kyle Catwoman, but yeah,
yeah.
Hank Pym's wife. Sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So a couple big names: Brad Pitt, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Whoever Kale is voiced by is also kind of a famous voice actor, I think.
The Allstate guy.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. That's what I know him from.
I will say, Sinbad and Kale did remind me of Kenway and
Yes, I know who you're thinking
I
about.
forget
Yeah,
his name.
it's
Is it
Uh,
Aldewale?
Albie? No,
Aldewale?
Ottawa. Yeah,
Wale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from
I knew it was an A name.
Assassin's Creed 4.
yeah, yeah.
They're
I saw
giving
the
that
same.
vibe.
Yeah, I agree. I had the same elements of the dynamic. All the Wale just slowly eating away at Kenway to make him a better person was one of the better parts of the game.
Well, Kale kind of had a little bit of effect on Sinbad with that as well with his actions.
Hmm.
Yes, he did. Are you really going to leave your friend to die?
And then Rat
With
just reminded me of
Fiji.
Mole from Atlantis.
I guess just like a quirky, really weird dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, I'll bring up something that I was hoping would get answered watching it, and it didn't. Therefore, I'm not happy about it.
Oh boy.
And that's the time. That's the time. They were given 10 days, which
Oh
seemed
yeah.
arbitrary in of itself. Why 10 days? But 10 days to retrieve the book and come back. On their journey there, they got a ride from a giant fish, which lasted all night long, maybe even a day. But we have the night cycle. Uh, so at least all night long. And they get to the end, and then we teleport them back to um, the city. What's the name of it?
Syracuse.
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 Yeah. And they teleport back to Syracuse after. I don't know how they got back up the waterfall. I don't know how they got back from the edge of the world. I don't know if they went through the mermaid or the siren caves again. I What happened? They
No
skipped half
fucking.
the
Well,
journey.
that's why they
Well,
teleported back. To be honest,
the
that's exactly why.
off the waterfall, and then at the end when they like fail the test of the realm of chaos, I thought showing the gate again was the gate closing, and they're back in the mortal plane. That's why their boat is in the background, and that the drop off the earth is like no longer there, and that's actually just like the far ocean, and they're just on a little island. Um, but to go
You're
backwards
like the
from that,
portal, I guess, is no longer there.
well, the portal's still there. It's just deactivated, but it's not floating anymore. Like the test was like to go across like a floating area that upon the whole realm of chaos thing is no longer floating. That's why the boat was in the background. That's how I saw it. Um, but the right back would only work to line up to the execution of the 10-day mark if at the time of finishing or coming out of the realm of chaos then was before the 5-day mark of 10 days. That way, because they don't have a fish to traverse them at supersonic speeds for a whole nother night cycle, so they'll need double the time possibly to overlap that. And if they're at the halfway mark, they won't make it with that, so they have to be on like day 4, possibly.
Yeah, and in terms of like sailing, that's not that far away if you're sailing for like 4 days to the realm of chaos.
Yeah.
Can anyone go there?
I guess so. You just got to survive the sirens.
If the
Yeah, you
door's
gotta fucking
open,
glide here.
because it
Yeah.
does close. But
So that's probably my biggest complaint of the movie is that because it's such a big thing to skip the journey back on. And I understand the idea of why you don't need to retread everything, but they put on a time limit. They had 10 days and they had so many obstacles to traverse to get there and they have to come back. I mean, if we had them like teleport outside the city from the portal, I'm like, okay, I don't know why Eris would plop them there because why aid any possibility of Sinbad returning? But that would at least answer the travel time. But we don't get that.
yeah,
I would agree.
I don't see it as a big problem, but I see it as a nitpick.
I mean,
It's
I
it can.
think it's more than
I
that.
think it's a big problem just
It could
because
be a problem if it was actually stated like days of day, like what actual days are, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's still
if they were
feasible with
more
the 4-day mark I said, but
if they were more hardline on like the days that were going by, I think I would take more of an issue with it. But I still have an issue with it. It's just I think it would be a bigger issue if they were more hardline on the days that pass by once the timer starts.
And I don't know why they did 10 days. It kind of just seems like an arbitrary number.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hey,
I could
have a good
chop it down
plot.
to Syracusean law, but I have nothing to base the world building for Syracusean law on. So
You can
other than that, someone
one
can take your
place.
place at an executioner's block.
Yes. Let's go with
Uh,
oh, you got
nope,
more to
no,
add
no,
to it?
go.
oh,
No,
host card.
I was gonna jump to another point. So
All right, well, we'll go Springs. I was about to say.
Okay, writer, don't lose your point.
nope, I'm looking at it.
Okay, cool. Let's see. How did Sinbad's ship unattach itself from Proteus's ship with the hooks without causing whole damage to Proteus's ship?
No idea. Best, but as far as the animation shows, it shows that a tentacle is pushing the two ships apart. So the tentacle pushed them out, but Proteus' ship would have started sinking.
I
Probably.
agree. I like the boarding hook mechanic kind of thing. That's cool. But the ship would be more damage.
Very damaged.
Yeah.
Well, were the hooks above water? They were, right?
Yes.
So,
They were above the water line, but that's not a consistent water line.
No. And even with Proteus riding off, the ship
Especially with
doesn't have holes in
a
it.
monster throwing water around in giant waves. That's not going to be a consistent water line anyway.
You would take water, and that would actually make density for the ship to go down, which could then hit the sea level and then flood, possibly.
what I'm saying is, we could have had the time with the whole fight to where they could repair where it didn't sink by the time it ended.
Yeah, I
'Cause
could
I mean,
go
I was
with
wondering
water
where
inside.
all of Proteus's crew appeared from, because they were all fucking defeated slash dead off screen, and then they were all back to fight the sea monster.
Yeah, they were all knocked out.
Or spit out.
Headbutted.
My worst bit of fighting animation is this is like the fucking spinning sword trick that uh, Sinbad does to kind of like confuse his enemies.
Mm.
Like, you didn't like its implementation or the way they did it? Because I thought it looked good.
I think the animation is fine. It's just the implementation of it because it's so like that would be
That's
my biggest fighting complaint. 'Cause I
that's
think
where
everything
the
else it
choreography
can get
lines
away
up
with
for
it.
me.
Yeah. Like I said, that one comes across to me as poorly choreographed. The rest has a sort of logical sense to it.
There's a lot of
Yes.
flair in the combat.
Yes.
Absolutely.
A lot of flair. And it's not. I guess I'm middle ground of it. I don't think it is a bad thing because it's animation, but it does portray. I think mostly Sinbad for the fighting. Just he's so weightless. He can just fly about, moving and impacting damage enough to knock over guards and everything from one little like turn.
I mean, there's a certain level we've talked about like cartoon levels to stuff.
True, but it was
And
getting to the point of the choreography, especially in the first scene before they kind of hold down Proteus, that I went. It kind of shows a little bit of Sinbad having like super strength, or at least super dexterity.
of holding down Proteus.
Like before that, like the fight with all the guards on the ship.
Yeah, when he comes across as weightless. Yeah,
Or
there's a bit of that
he
there.
stabs a sword in the ground and he like spins around on top of his sword, but the sword's not moving.
It's like a Sporticus.
Yeah, that is. I don't know. Sporticus is like, he defines physics.
But he is a real guy.
I don't know about that. I don't know if Lazy Town's a real place.
I mean, I've seen a documentary on the guy. He did a lot of that stuff without wires.
That's true.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that goes on the cartoon scale for me, and I don't think they reached the line to where it's inconsistent with itself in this movie.
Okay, I go with the reason I have 50-50. The choreography of like his foot hitting this guard's head and then being able to spin and punch this guard and like lining up how the body would move to line up the shots of the choreography. I think that's all cool. But the feasibility of like a human depiction, even in cartoon, but like this is a human, peak physique or not, like being able to do all that without the weight or a situation of the elements in the world reacting to it was the downside of it.
I just think it's overly critical because with the Kale, he bites down on a full swing.
Yeah, that was no way.
That's a cartoon thing, and it fits in this movie. It's not like whoa, Kale.
No,
What are you doing
no.
here,
That's
you
what I'm saying.
Superman?
No, that's what I'm saying. The
So
50% is it fits in the movie. It's cartoon, everything, but a human can't stop the force of that. He would still get injured.
his head would be chopped. That was a full swing.
Oh yeah, he died.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's for me. It's kind of the distinction between like plot armor and it being a cartoon. The film is mostly consistent with itself as far as its tone. So while I do objectively consider that to be plot armor, I don't in this instance consider that to be a detriment because it's consistent with everything else as far as the tone of their animation style and things like that. So, like if this was a Castlevania animation, right? That would be an issue because you can't characters in Castlevania can't catch a blade with their teeth. Their head's gonna lose off. But if this one of them suddenly did,
true. But the
that
people in Castlevania, they make
dead.
extremely fragile.
I mean,
Everyone is so frail in that
cartoon
show.
world.
Yeah, that is true. Different
Like
depiction of the cartoon world. See,
you have a dog in here that gets catapulted.
yeah, and he's again
Yeah.
weightless.
Yeah.
No, it's more fine for me for Kale to catch the sword with his teeth than it is for him to stop it with his hand, and his hand's perfectly fine.
I guess if we were to put it on a scale or ranking, yeah. I think biting down on it is better than palming it. If you did like the clapping thing, that'd be fine.
Sure, for a cartoon.
Yeah. Or Mummy 3.
I don't know if I've seen that.
You might get to see it one day.
One day, yeah. Sorry, audience who are like, guys, it's a flippin' cartoon. I get it, but it's also depictions of humans.
Yeah. So I guess final thoughts on this grounding of animation in this particular film.
I just thought a lot of people are weightless.
Yeah. The film was consistent with itself, but yes, he's right. There's a lot of people who are weightless. As long as the film is consistent with itself, and suddenly just doesn't like give something like really, really like realistic physical weight, then I will start taking issue because then it's being inconsistent with itself.
Yeah. Like there's a part where Rat is going like a 360 on a rope around the boat, lighting lanterns.
Mm-hmm.
He is weightless to move outside the ship of rope bindings to then inside the ship of rope bindings to loop around back to Kale to light the lantern without his rope he's swinging on interacting with anything.
Yeah. Well, I guess my final piece is pretty much what writer was saying. As long as they're consistent with it.
Okay.
Who brought up the animation thing?
I brought up the
That'll
choreography
be
thing.
Sprinks.
Choreography. Let's go with writer. Oh yeah, you were going to
Sweet.
hold on to something.
Yes.
Yes, I did, and don't worry, I did. I small thing. If the book is piece is so important, why isn't there an armada?
It's not that important. I don't know.
It's only one
I
of a
mean,
kind,
it. I
precious
mean, it
item.
destroyed the city when it was captured, so it's clearly very
True.
important.
And one one pirate vessel is able to take down the whole
Yeah.
ship.
No,
mean,
I can't even go with the pirate vessel. Just two people. It might as well have just been
just Kale and Sinbad? Sure.
and Kale.
I mean, half the
Yeah,
crew
might as
stayed
well
on the
just been
boat.
them. Yeah, well, I mean, the other half of the crew get on the boat, but they're all busy tied up fighting Proteus because Proteus is like 3v1ing them.
yeah, I guess the only thing I could devil's advocate for is it was like a secretive thing. Like the
Yeah.
less people that know about the transport, the less likely something bad could happen to it.
Yeah, that for me was the only thing I could think of as a stealth reason. But holy fuck, that would need to be explained because this is with how integral this is to the 12 cities and Syracuse. Every one of them have been contributing something of a defense. Because even Sinbad would have it. It would theoretically look at 30 ships guarding one and go, "Okay, I can't do that."
Yeah, something I think would need to establish is a little bit of distrust between the 12 cities.
Yes.
So you'd be like, okay, if they each send a ship or something, maybe, but one could try to backstab. But if you do have dissension in the 12 cities, it kind of goes against the whole peace book, Thousand Years of
Yeah.
Peace thing. So I don't know
It could
how it.
be. They could even then. They could still make it like this is where like those 10 minutes for world building would come in. They could make it so that the 12 cities are struggling. Like they're are trying really hard to maintain their peace despite like some distrust that's been growing. So they've all agreed to move the book to Syracuse because of turmoil that's brewing, and that could be obviously attributed to the goddess of discord, and that would lay into more of her plans to just discord things further. But the as it stands, it's very weak that the ship is on its own
I'm like, wasn't that a
for carrying something so important.
slight hint of the 12 cities, not fully like in destruction, but slightly as why Proteus is getting together with Marina as an ambassador from somewhere else, and not local?
I guess
Yeah, well,
it's
that's
slightly.
they're binding them through a union, so
Yeah,
that they're even stronger together.
I'm like, it was a slight thing, but it's not like stayed on for too long because in a kids movie that's boring.
Yeah,
And then there's the element that I always bring up when it's relevant, and that's the magic system. I have no idea what this book does. Uh,
It keeps the
it
it
sun.
lights up the
repairs the
city.
city.
Yeah,
How does it provide peace? By bringing sunlight.
sunlight.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't know if it
the
makes
functions
everybody
of the book,
happy
no idea.
or
No,
what.
even
Don't
possession
know.
of
Like,
Eris, it's not doing like
yeah.
Because it's
war.
closed.
Now, if I were
Yeah.
to write something with how what was depicted in the film as far as rules go, the 12 cities are bound together by this book. So, like, the fate of the 12 cities are intertwined in this book. As long as the book survives, the 12 cities will survive. And that's kind of what would lay into the importance of why it's so important to these 12 cities. Like, it's a fate kind of thing. Like, they made a deal with the gods to protect their cities through the Book of Peace. And that's what brought an end to all the wars and turmoil, which is why they've had such a long lasting peace. That would be my attempt at a soft magic system. It's one of those binding contracts that they have with the gods to keep their cities safe.
Hmm.
But I've got nothing. I legitimately have no idea or recourse or recompense as to how this functions. The only thing I have to go on is that everything is fine when they have the book. The second that Eris gets the book, they're like chaos strikes at least Syracuse. I have no idea what the fate of the other 12 cities are or the other 11.
That's a good
Well, it has
pitch.
to do with the book being opened or closed. But and yes, like what Spring said, it's I like your on the spot, quick um, fix for the story behind the book.
And again, if we had 10 more minutes in this in this movie, I think that would have been like just a minute
Yeah.
explanation, maybe even less.
I'm trying to think if the Book of
Like
Peace
it
is
could be.
on par with the Book of Ashanti.
It's funny. I compare it to the Book of Ashanti in my notes.
Yeah. Mm. I think the
I think this is better
properties.
than Dante.
I don't know. I think the properties of what they say the Book of Ashanti does is more powerful, but doesn't exactly do that.
Well, no, I like Book of Ashanti. We talked about it in the coverage. Having
That was years ago.
having a place that's finite but with infinite universes and there's only one item means there's
Yeah.
infinite influx
There
of
should be
people.
infinitely people coming in for that book regularly if it's an
Yeah.
infinite multiverse. It's like, okay, I'm picking it today. I need to borrow it for like 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
So the mere
Have a
existence of
fucking
that
big
book,
line.
mere existence of the book sucks. Meanwhile, the
Yeah.
existence of this book doesn't necessarily suck. It's just undefined. So that's why I would probably hold this one over Ashanti.
Okay. I
Yeah.
think.
This one's much more MacGuffin centric rather than the Book
Oh
of
yeah.
Ashanti is while it's a MacGuffin is makes even less sense.
I think it was a cool move of Sinbad figuring out how to like impale Cetus, the sea creature, and use the I don't know
The masts.
the mast to impale the head. Very clever and very smart. I think that was cool. However, the repair job of Proteus's ship to sail off didn't seem feasible to me. It was way too fast.
Oh yeah, they did that in like uh less than 5 minutes. It was very impressive.
Yeah.
Um
Well,
And I could have
it helps that we
excused
don't
it
have a time.
more. We have a little bit. We have conversational time, and that's maybe 2 minutes because it feels like real time, and then it cuts to them on the ship. And I would excuse a little more
it
if it
would
wasn't for later in the movie when Sinbad gives the idea of how they're going to get into the realm of chaos and like fly, and he's giving off like all these naval commands of functioning terms to bow down the hatches of how to tie things up correctly. Like that told me like in this world, that all works for how a vessel runs. And those are real things. So why wouldn't Proteus's ship have the exact same things feasible that are established in the world then, which makes the repair job look worse?
I'm confused the connection between the repair job and the flying sails.
The crew maintenance on what it takes to run a ship and everything, that it can't just be like, turn the stern left or like port side, and then on the other hand it's like, oh, repairing the mast, yeah, that takes a second. If one's depiction of realism to connect to what it actually means in terms of what to do with the ropes and bindings and stern and mast and all of that, then why isn't the repair job of the same equipment equal?
When they leave the, I guess, captain quarters with of the book room, I guess, or whatever, were the sails repaired?
uh One more time, leaving the what with the sails repaired?
The book room or whatever on the
no, they
boat.
hadn't
Oh no,
they
they
hadn't
haven't
been broken
fought
yet.
Cetus yet.
Okay. What scene are you talking about that they're fixed? When they're pulling up to the city or before that?
Before that, when Sinbad's on his ship and Proteus is sailing away.
Then yeah, I just see that as a continuity error
It's like a real
and
Tom and Jerry
kind of a
thing
big
where it's like
one.
the explosion in the next scene, it's like the head's there. Kind of like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know they had um,
My
every scene of the boats was a CG boat. There was never a hand drawn boat.
yeah.
So it might have just been they used the default ship on the exit and didn't use the broken boat, which kind of is not a
Maybe
good
the detail,
continuity.
the detail I didn't catch, which could make it worse, is if the impalement mass into Cetus were dragged off with his body into the ocean.
I mean, they'd probably be. I mean, some of it's still tied, right? The top ends of
One of
them are
the
still tied to the boat.
Yeah, because like two ropes and one was
Oh,
cut to lean it down, but then the other one had to be cut for them to go downwards. One was cut to angle them, the other one was cut for them to fall.
don't remember if there was another rope on him or not. I don't know. It's hard to say because when it falls off the boat, you don't see them on it. So I guess they somehow managed to stay on the boat.
Yeah, impaled Cetus, but as the body fell limpless, they came out.
That's a problem.
They
Yeah,
drooped
to
over.
harp more a little bit more on the sails, by the way. The sails are just gone at a certain point.
On Proteus'
the
ship?
fabric.
Proteus is using only
Yeah.
one sail to sail the ship at some point because when they climb up the rigging and the mast to get on top of the sails, the sails aren't there,
Yeah, it's just the wood.
Yeah.
which is a problem because they're a currently sailing ship, even with even though they are attached to Sinbad. Like their ship didn't suddenly stop sailing. So,
Yeah. Because of being boarding, the ships didn't stop. They'd still move. They'd slow down, but still movement.
yeah.
Yeah, the sails do just disappear.
Also, a follow-up question. Did Proteus steal Sinbad's sword?
He did.
Okay.
Somehow.
He took it off his back in the room and then just kept it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Which I guess I have an issue with because usually both swords are stored in his back, right?
One's on his back, one's on his hip.
The entire movie, it's that consistent.
That I could not tell you. I watched it once. I know he pulls out knives from his ass crack throughout the entirety of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, I got two from Kale's back.
True. But he always has a knife.
Yes, he does. Were you going to lead with something with that, Ryder?
No, I'm just questioning continuity.
Oh, if there's a point where Sinbad has two swords
It feels
again?
like his swords. Yeah, I feel like his swords just constantly appear and disappear.
Kinda. Maybe, or maybe he just doesn't use them. I think he only has one going forward. And he doesn't have one on his back.
And he's got like his dagger, whatever, knife. Let's go with a Springs point.
Oh boy, let's see here. What have we not touched on already in my notes that I can bring up? Oh, how does Sinbad know what sushi is?
He's
been in
a
all seven
world
seas.
traveler. Yeah, he's been everywhere. So.
I'm actually okay with this because he already has for lack of better words, he has Asian crew members. So he already has a world travel crew. It doesn't seem like a huge leap for me that he's had sushi before.
Okay. All out then.
Yeah, he's pretty well established to have gone everywhere, it seems.
Yeah, in the same way that like, I would expect a Jack Sparrow at some point to have had sushi. If it were to come up for some reason.
I don't know Jack's travels.
Well, they say he's traveled all 7 seas and stuff like that.
Oh, then yes.
Some throwaway lines. And also, he's familiar with Captain Yao Fang's, I think his name is. So, like, he knows other Asian captains personally and stuff like that. Because they have I love Pirates of the Caribbean, at least the first 3 movies. The world building is fascinating.
It certainly is. And I love the deleted scene. Not that they deleted it, but I love the scene of Lord Beckett and Jack Sparrow talking about the Black Pearl.
Oh, yeah. Easily best scene. It's one of those scenes that should have just stayed in the film.
Absolutely.
Adds so much backstory. I love it. Back to Sinbad.
Really?
Another pirate movie, yeah.
Yeah, another pirate movie.
Pirates of the Caribbean, was that 2001 or 3? Actually,
I think it's 2001.
1? Okay.
Yeah, 2001, I think.
3.
2003, I think, was Dead Man's Chest, because I know they came out pretty sequentially. Maybe Dead Man's...
I think it's 3.
That'd be interesting that these came out the same year. If that's the case.
It's 2003. Dead Man's Chest was 2006.
All right, so this
Yeah,
came
same
out.
year.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Great timing.
What a pirate year.
Yeah.
But I quite like Proteus and Sinbad's brotherly friendship. Like I enjoy the bromance. They do a pretty good job of building their history without necessarily us having to see their history.
Proteus is such a bro.
Yes. That brought up a big question
God.
after the movie. What's the message of this movie?
Friendship triumphs all?
Friendship?
I don't know.
Trust in your friends, so they will have reason to trust in you. I'm just gonna quote the beginning of Clone Wars.
The better the friend you are, the higher chance you have to steal your friend's girl.
Sure, if you want to do that.
It just seemed like Proteus was such a good friend to Sinbad to the point that
Oh
he's
no, I
like,
agree.
"Oh, here."
Oh yeah, I agree. It's so like overdone with Proteus's level of commitment, especially given how many years they've spent apart.
Yeah,
That
10
being
years
said,
not
I
seeing each other,
do
and it's
like
like
a
2 times in a day. Wow. And then his dad's like, "Let's get you out of here." He goes, "No, I trust this guy."
yeah. There is a lot riding on that. I think my best inference reading is that Proteus almost idolizes Sinbad for his freedom. Because he's bound to his duties as a prince and like defending the city and things like that. But I don't really have much to go on with regards to that. I think at base value, I think I like their friendship quite a bit. It's just one of those things that I think really needed to be fleshed out.
Yes, it doesn't make Proteus seem that strong. Mentally strong.
I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think you got to be pretty mentally strong to accept
He definitely has
everything
conviction.
he's
I
done.
just want to know what the source of it is. You know?
He's just a very loyal guy. Right? He's loyal to his kingdom. He's loyal to his friend, and he's even loyal
I think
to
He's more loyal
his
to his quote unquote friend than the kingdom. He's the last known heir, and he's gonna die.
for the best chance to retrieve the book. He said Sinbad was the best chance to get that book back.
True,
So
but upon the 10th day, he's laying down his head, and Sinbad's not back with the book.
that doesn't change the intentions he had doing that choice. He thought it was for the betterment of the city.
10 days prior, yeah, but his dad even comes in and says, "Hey, let's escape."
Still is giving Sinbad a chance to do it. I
Yeah,
don't.
and that
and I
that
mean
point
that
is
lines up
putting
with
more
that lines up with
trust
him
into
being
Sinbad
honorable.
than himself in the kingdom.
I don't see the
Well, no,
correlation with.
he's bound by the laws of his kingdom, so I don't have any
Yeah,
issues with that. It's not a trust issue. He's just bound by their law.
Yeah,
he's
he
like, "You
didn't
want
want.
me to live in exile?"
Yeah, he did
No.
choose not to do that.
So no, I think he's extremely loyal to everybody. I mean, even Marina, he's loyal to her happiness, not necessarily their future together. He has massive respect for her.
Yeah. I do think the film would be strengthened with more Proteus because getting his perspective on Sinbad and perhaps Proteus's perspective on his history with Sinbad because we get Sinbad kind of talking about their history and like how they grew apart and stuff like that, but nothing really on how Proteus views Sinbad outside of the scenes where they're very very plot relevant. Because I think a lot of that could feed into his choice to take his place outside of obviously being the best book ever, but like the loyalty and conviction that requires of him to do that.
Yes, it's not a
There
good or
is
bad thing, but something this movie does not have, which I feel is in time of animated films around this time, is the quote unquote backstory showing over the course of music. Like not a musical number, but like a song that would play in the credits that plays in this part of the movie to show an event of happening. And I like if like Proteus and Sinbad's like relationship and how they broke up and like how they went separate paths kind of
yeah.
thing with a song number, if that was shown, but
You know
this
what I
doesn't have that.
you know what I would do? Because I've already thrown out one what I would do to kind of make world building around the book. I would have probably intercut uh a flashback when the two of them cross swords. It's very short, but when the two of them cross swords, I would probably intertwine that with like a flashback of them playing as kids. Flash forward again to them fighting in the room again. Flashback to when they're older, fighting together. So you get like little bits, very very quick. Wouldn't really
Like
necessarily
Arcane,
affect the pacing of the film.
Arcane with Jinx and Echo on the bridge.
Kinda, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As an introduction, that would be interesting.
Well, they would have already interacted a lot before they started the fight over the book. So
Oh,
that they
in the
they would
book.
quote unquote have their
Okay.
introduction.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
My idea is like when they cross swords over the book, that's when we start that like the quick flashback cuts.
Okay, sure.
And you wouldn't necessarily need to do more than 3 to just establish a base for something. Um, but again, it's one of those things where it's just like Proteus puts a lot of faith in Sinbad for very, very loose reasoning.
10 years can really change a person.
Yeah. I mean, Sinbad, the only reason Sinbad quote unquote stayed to help, right, is because his ship had flown away or his ship had sailed away. He was not going to stay and help Proteus otherwise.
Yeah.
So I feel like I definitely needed more to explain his conviction with Sinbad, even if ultimately he does come to the conclusion that Sinbad is their best hope to get it back, because he's putting his neck on the line for someone who was his best friend. I think I needed a little bit more substance as to his reasoning. Like maybe he talks to his father before making the decision,
Yeah.
or
No,
maybe he talks to Marina before he makes the decision.
I can see that. I need equal level minding between the two of them. Because Sinbad's
Yeah,
not.
at least
They're not
before
matched.
Sinbad goes on his adventure. Yeah, before Sinbad goes on his adventure, I would like more of Proteus to kind of explain his conviction and willing to do all of this because it what we have. I don't even want to say it works, but it's like on a scale of like out of 10 points, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 10. I can infer a lot. And the problem is I'm inferring too much, I think.
I just.
It's very
It
meh.
would have aided because Proteus isn't the one to sell on Sinbad because Sinbad's going to go to Tahiti or where not Tahiti,
Yeah,
Fiji. He's like,
Fiji.
I'm going to go to Fiji, and it was Marina who had to convince him, which is kind of a stranger that Sinbad just fancies.
And money.
Yeah, I guess money, but Proteus is also like the living heir of of one of the 12 cities, and stuck his neck out and is going to die for Sinbad, and Sinbad still wasn't going to do it. But Marina's like, oh yeah, here's a jewel. And he goes, all right, change of course.
The element of psychological stuff where he's kind of looking for an excuse too. He wasn't completely soulless with everything in the
No, it
cabin
was
there.
still weighing on him, but he did make his decision without Marina first.
Yeah.
He didn't like ponder
Uh,
it over and tell Kel like, give me a moment.
I
well,
do like him muttering angry consonants throughout the film when he's like when people are making him be a good person.
yeah. I don't know if I agree with writers like you're 4 out of 10 on the Proteus Sinbad dynamic because I feel
No, no, I'm
that's
sorry.
one of the
That's
strongest elements
specifically
of it.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean specifically the scenes I was talking about. I think the dynamic overall I actually quite like because in concept there's a lot here. They're old friends, they talk about each other. I that's not my overall grade for them. That was just what I was focusing on at the beginning because I think once the story gets going, we have the establishment of everything. I do think there's enough to for it to be a very core part of the story. What bothers me is I guess is the I needed more from Proteus given the situation as we understand it at the beginning. Once the adventure gets going, I don't have much of an issue with their relationship.
My my thing with them is I would have liked to have known if Proteus knew why Sinbad left, because as far as we are aware as the audience, he doesn't know why Sinbad left. We're told Sinbad leaves because he fell in love with Marina, who's um, to be Proteus's future wife, so he left. But we don't know if Proteus knew that, and I didn't really get the reading off of him when he let her go. That's like been a long time thing he's been weighing on or anything. It's, I I wish they established whether he knew or not his Sinbad's reasons. It's kind of just there missing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that too. I guess that was
What
my point. I have a lot to say about Proteus.
He's an important character. Do you have anything to add to that, Sprinks?
No, I think you got it pretty well.
Go with the Sprinks point.
How can someone be a fiance if you haven't asked to be wed yet? Is that
They
just
were
of the
arranged.
times?
Arranged. It's
They were arranged. He wanted to make it official, like he wanted to ask her to know that she loved him back.
Okay. Okay.
It's more for like the symbolism of he actually does care about her. It's not just about the arrangement.
Okay. And then at the end of the movie, doesn't really care about the arrangement. Which
Well,
cares
he
about her
realizes
happiness,
she's
which is
happy
nice.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice on the character, but it's also kind of a middle finger to your dad.
Brody is just a Giga Chad from through to the end.
It is something I wrote. When did Eris win? Was this part of her game that Proteus doesn't find love and there will be no heirs after him? Right? Now
Wow,
we
it's
don't
just
get a
one
He could have
follow-up.
just rearranged another marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one
Potentially.
ambassador.
I
So
mean, it's
what? She
open
took
where nothing happens, but
Crimson. You, if anyone should know, just because an ambassador takes 2 coins doesn't mean you can coup later. It's fine.
you can get a new ambassador.
Exactly.
I'm just saying potentially. I mean, we don't know what happens after this, and Eris wasn't really that upset about losing. Obviously, she's like eternal; she doesn't die, but um, an avenue that it could go towards. Um, and that's something I like about Eris actually is we end with her as like the bad guy. She doesn't die. She doesn't get captured in something or put away somewhere. She just
Moves on
takes
to
it
the
on the
next
Moves
thing.
chin.
on.
She's a goddess.
Takes it on the chin, moves away. It's kind of something you don't see a lot, especially in like kids movies. Usually the villain gets their comeuppance. Not in this one. They just lose.
Kind of. Chaos still happened.
Yeah, I mean she got enjoyment out of it.
Yeah. Not the way she planned, but I mean, it still happened. I
Yeah.
think she was actually impressed by Sinbad at the end with the "you're cute, not that cute" kind of line.
Mm.
Even though Sinbad wasn't smart
Yeah,
enough,
I'd
but
agree with that.
Yeah, as we established, she can't read his mind, so she could have thought he outsmarted her.
true.
Which I would knock on her intelligence if that's how she read him as, but hard to say.
I'm gonna say we're lucky that Sinbad didn't just immediately sail off after the party. He stuck around long enough to be captured.
To be captured. Yeah, I had that as a thing too. Because they're framing it like he was actually going to leave the party,
Yeah, well, he
and
did
then
leave the party.
he's just locked up after the after it. I'm like, oh, did he get chased down? Was he at the docks? What's he doing here?
Yeah. Lucky the Yeah, I mean, if we're really gonna go with the Shiji, her goal is just to cause chaos. I take less of an issue with the goddess just faking herself as Sinbad for fun.
I like the puppet aspect of
I
it.
wish there
It
was a
wasn't
little
just
Oh
more
yeah,
of
him
that.
shapeshifting.
the animation bit was really cool.
I like that it's a
Yeah.
I would
hollow
love her. I
husk.
would love to see. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to see her fuck with people like that. But honestly, after this, she just goes and sits in world bubble baths or whatever.
Still
Cosmic Bats.
slowing them down, but not actually like stopping them.
I
Yeah,
think she
I mean,
actually wants to see if somebody can make it. So I think she's throwing in tasks that did stop other people before and have stopped people before, but he's
Yeah,
supposed to be the best or whatever. So
which is the
like we
embodiment
said,
of her. That is chaos. It's not a win-lose situation.
yeah, I mean, if she
yeah.
wants to, she could just like pick him up and squeeze him in her hands. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not an issue.
No, yeah. I mean, she could have just went in and took the book and killed Proteus. There was be no need for the film. Like,
Yeah. So she's just having fun throwing bubbles and obstacles in his way. Something in this film that I forgot about was the snow part with the bird, and I've kind of
I can see why you
realized
forgot about the
on the
sequence.
podcast why I forgot about it, and it's because it's
shoehorned.
inconsequential.
Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah, I agree. It's
Inconsequential. It
inconsequential.
has no weight to anything. Like the giant fish, the reason was to repair the boat. So all right,
Yeah.
I can understand that. That makes sense. The sirens, an obstacle on the path to a dangerous journey, makes sense. But this bird thing wasn't even an original obstacle. That's something she just plopped in, and it did
Yeah,
feel
the
shoehorned.
snow to slow them down, or the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, I mean, the only thing that I can assume is that the bird had an effect on was the knocking off of all the rubble that freed
Ice.
their path forward.
Yeah, but if there was no ice there, it wouldn't have been in the way.
Yeah. So
It felt
I
like
think
this moment where you said there was 7 movies and they decided to make one.
I was just about to say that. It's like, yeah, they wanted their adventures, so they tried to sprinkle them in this movie. And that one didn't have any weight behind it.
Not exactly, no. I mean, the Snowhawk is
I
how I wrote
I
it.
also
Isn't even one
the
of
second I saw
the astrological monsters.
Nope, I don't think so. But it's kind
the
of hard to say.
second I saw the round shield, I'm like, oh, they're gonna sled down.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
When he put the shield on his back, of course, that was going to be a
I'm like,
sled.
man, he hasn't had a shield the entire film. Obviously, they're sliding back down.
He didn't even list it as like stuff. She's like, "You have ropes? Nope. Grapple? Nope. Swords? Nope. What about the shield? Nothing said." And then they never bring
Also,
up the shield.
convenient for them to have all this snow equipment.
I suppose. I mean, like we've established, they are kind of world travelers, so
Yeah,
I can
I'm
buy it.
50-50 on that. They're world travelers. I'm not going to be a stickler for that. I would have just preferred, I guess, an explanation.
Yeah,
Quick
I think
line, as it were.
it's feasible. I think.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have an issue with it. I think I would just there's a way to make it better, and the only way to make it better is just have like a quick line. Oh, remember when we got these from like so and so? Yeah, that was a while ago. Then just carry on with the rest of the film.
What would be
Yeah.
better is if some guy ripped his toe off. That would be pretty funny.
Oh,
I
Pirates
understood that
3.
reference.
Yeah.
Crimson, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Because I know you've done rabbit hole deep diving in your
All
past,
right.
and one of them was on aquatic fish.
Okay.
Does an
Yeah.
angler fish's light need to be used for sight? I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but
I mean, for itself or other things.
what I'm getting at is when they're on the island and the anglerfish's antenna comes over to like beam
Is
light
the
onto
sun for
them,
some reason?
it doesn't need that to see them because they're not in the dark abyss. They're topside, right?
I. y- So
Is it a
this isn't
movie
an
moment
anglerfish.
thing or
This isn't an anglerfish, so I can't really apply it to this animal. But yeah, the light is for like other creatures to lure. It's not for its own sight, really. I think anglerfish are blind. Um, but this isn't an anglerfish, so whatever logic they apply would be just to this creature. So
okay?
I guess this one needs it to see them. I mean, the eyes are on the top of its head, and it's like a flat back thing. I don't know. I have no idea what this fish is, but
Looks like a Dunspark.
I don't know why this just came into my
kind of.
head, but for some reason I had an idea where if any of us ever meet Brad Pitt in person, we should bring a Sinbad poster for him to sign just to get his reaction.
I haven't signed one of these in a long time.
If I'm meeting Brad
What is
Pitt,
this?
it's not going to be a flippin' Sinbad poster.
Yeah.
Of course
Get
not. It's
get the
clearly
bullet
gonna be the
train out
Vanisher.
there. Vanisher.
Yeah, Deadpool 2 Vanisher.
I get
It would
no.
probably be Ocean's 11.
Yeah, it'd be Ocean's 11 for
A
me, or
bullet train?
maybe or Troy.
Bullet Train's up there, but Ocean's 11 I think is
That's
more
surprising.
distinctly the Brad Pitt role.
I would agree with that. But yeah, I was like, I kind of want to bring a Sinbad poster just to get his reaction because that would be funny.
Crimson would bring wolves.
No, no, I would not. What a disappointment of a movie. Not diving too much into that. Who knows? Maybe we'll cover it one day.
Possibly.
Yeah. I'll jump to the sirens. I like the way they depict them in this. That's just like these water
They're water
creatures.
elementals.
They're they're pretty interesting. They kind of have creepy faces.
They remind me of, like, the freaking mermaids from Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, kind of. Kind of see
Oh,
it.
you know what? No, more so the mermaids from the. I think it was
Fourth
also.
Pirate.
Well, no, I think it was also not the fourth, but also from I think it was 2003, but the British Peter Pan movie.
Oh, yeah, but I don't know. But yeah, I liked the visuals of them. I don't know why they were at like on the figureheads of the shipwrecks
To
and
blend
stuff,
in. That
but
was cool.
it's a nice visual. The song they played during it is all right, like an angelic tune, nothing crazy. And as an
Standard
act,
fare for mermaids or
yeah,
sirens.
silence. And as an action piece of the sailing, I think it's pretty cool. I just like how dynamic the camera can be in this film. And we talked about on the boat Sinbad's sword fighting. Choreography or not, the camera is moving. It is working.
Oh,
We're
it's
getting some
rocking.
nice. We're getting some nice angles, some cool stuff. It is not a stationary animated film. The camera is rocking.
No, but to touch on
And
your thing you said earlier, I do like the detail that in a dreary, spooky, dragon tooth, dangerous area where they are, the figureheads are crying.
mm,
That
yeah,
was a nice detail.
it's a nice place.
Though it did make me question with the ship holes back on like huge rock surfaces and skulls linked between ropes that someone like physically decored this place.
Physically decorated. I mean, there's a path to go through, so someone probably moved the boats to the sides because I feel like the path would get blocked by wreckage.
Yeah. I don't know. They brought up cannibals in this movie, so maybe it could have been like cannibals.
That was a funny joke. Definitely one you wouldn't get as a kid
No.
because they're cannibals. Well, I wouldn't say anything about that or whatever. Like them eating their meat, you know?
Oh, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't have gotten that as a child. Good subtle adult joke. Not the only subtle joke in
No.
this. Yeah. Let's go with Spring's point.
The when Marina takes control of the ship during the siren fight and they go over like a little waterfall and she and Spike have to like turn the ship to jump through the exit. In front of them is a like a waterfall going upwards and not necessarily a back splash, like a splashback. Is that right?
Um, it's kind of hard to say what's going on in this cave because the water, in essence, is kind of alive to a degree. So I don't really know what to make of it because
Okay.
we also do get like updraft waterfall at the end of the world, but I wouldn't really do like a parallel
Yeah,
this
no.
part.
No, I guess not. This seems taller than that. But it didn't like show a wide enough shot to see like how far the water is going up if it's just the current pushing against the rocks and that's how high it's going or if it's actually going up the rock like water surface because it cuts up on like the top of the frame.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say.
So I couldn't tell how magical that was.
I think my biggest issue with the siren bit is, and they try to cover it, is like, we can't go around it. I'm like, why? Why can't we go around it? You're in the open ocean right now. Why can't you go around it?
Yeah, it's very weird.
So they lazily gave an explanation why they had to go through it, but they didn't
Yeah.
explain why they couldn't go
Especially
around it,
since
other
I don't think
than they
Marina
can't.
took the exit they were supposed to take. So she came out like the side of it and they still were fine.
I mean, yeah, it's just an island. It's not like a continent they had to go around. It was just like an island thing. So that was a little lazy.
Well,
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, I think I liked most of the action sequence. I think it fits with the cartoony bit. I think Rat is dead. I don't think she swung underwater to hook him back out of it.
kind of plays
I
off
like
They've
that
that
he
been
the
holds on.
okay with water
sirens
physics so
sirens
far.
don't have a lot of force. Like they couldn't hold on, even in their element. Like they're just still water.
Yeah.
Liquid. Yeah, I suppose so. Spike. I'm not a fan of Spike. I
The
think
dog?
Spike is my least favorite character, if I can
Oh,
call him
Is,
one.
is it the dog?
yeah.
Yeah, the dog. I don't like how he's kind of treated as a person. Like he knows what people are saying when he's told
Oh
to
yeah.
do
I mean,
stuff.
it's a tone setter when in the opening fight he bites onto the tentacle and he gets essentially pulled off the boat and sent flying. Sinbad does not care in the slightest.
No.
No, and during my fact finding stuff, Spike was apparently just kind of like a background thing, but during the screenings, kids liked it, so they added more Spike scenes.
Of course they did.
Yeah, they like animals.
Right. So I can totally see the influence of the adding more for him to do. Just I'm not a fan of it. Like she's like, Spike, go tie them up. I'm like, okay, so he just fully understands English. It's not like a simple command of like fetch. It's like, no, tie them up, save them from the, the edge. Um, so
It
I
would be
wasn't a big
interesting
fan
if
of that.
they you know, the funny thing is they could have actually set that up because she was practicing tying the bow on him in the
Oh,
fucking like little hold.
yeah.
So they could have actually set it up a bit, but they don't.
Yeah, another adult joke in there. If he hugs your leg, it means he likes you.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just a hug.
Uh,
It's nothing more.
yeah. Also, just another quick note: continuity error. Sinbad's the clothes that are bitten out of his ass don't stay consistent. They weren't consistent
Right.
before
Oh
it
no.
happened. And
Yeah.
yeah, like once he's bitten there, he doesn't even he doesn't have the change in his clothes until that one shot of him walking away. So it's not there for the entire scene before, like it's shown and after the effect
Oh,
is shown.
I see what you
Yeah,
mean. Leading up to the reveal, it was never there.
yeah.
Okay. Then yes, yeah, that would be continuity error.
I did. We kind of skipped over the. Well, at least I did. I didn't really talk about it much, but the when
Optimism.
they stopped to get repairs for the ship on the island, everything that made it look like the island just disappeared, and Kale didn't notice.
I guess so.
It's a bit of a problem because Kale was
What's
just
going
acting like
on?
nut. The Kale just acting like all was fine on the deck of his ship, where he would have seen all the trees get sucked back into the skin of the fish.
Yeah. He should have. Didn't show the perspective on
Yeah.
him though.
Yeah, it's just this is a plot nitpick that one.
The it's very gross having a dog lick at an eyeball.
Yeah. Certainly visual.
Something they did good with this film is like
Slobber.
liquid.
Oh, liquid. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You got the slobber. You got the slime from the giant squid.
The
Um,
sirens.
And then the ocean's just CGI because they're
sirens
lazy.
is good.
Oh,
The
yeah.
eyeball goop is good. Goop. They do good with goop.
The mud on Melina's face. The sap.
Yeah, the sap.
the
All the stuff.
the spit of the sea monster on Proteus and
Yeah,
Sinbad. Yeah.
Sinbad.
Yeah. The goop was good.
solid goop.
Uh,
Everything but the ocean looked really, really good.
a little plot error. How did Melina know about the blades on the ship to use to escape the sirens?
He was below
Proteus
deck.
could have told her, but I don't know why he would. There was not much opportunity for them to have had that conversation.
I
I mean,
agree.
he did tell her about Sinbad robbing him on the boat. So
Yeah,
we do know
exactly.
they
That's what I'm
talked
saying. I
about
think
it.
I think Proteus could have told her about that adventure. Is what I mean. Like that,
Yeah,
how they met, what happened, and that.
but there was an opportunity for it. So I think
I'm
that's
50-50 on it. It's lucky that she's able to employ it, but
yeah.
she would. I think she would know that they're there, or that Sinbad would have them.
I don't know. I might be lower than a 50-50. It's feasible she could have known about it, but being never
Yeah.
seen it in a time of crisis, I don't think she would think of it.
Possibly. I mean, she's pretty knowledgeable about the boat stuff. And she brought up at the very end of the movie, like how the ropes work or whatever when she's on the top. And she seems to understand Sinbad's commands with the tying of the sails for the flying bit.
Well, she's always wanted to sail, right? So
Yeah, so
there's
she's
she would
knowledgeable.
have a base knowledge. I'm fine with her learning sails and stuff like that, but this is not base knowledge. This is actual weaponry that would be employed,
I
which is where the differences, I guess, would come from for me.
Yeah, being that Spike does it, I would have liked that if when she comes out of the hole of like removing the nails and Spike's like got the bow and she's trying to figure out what to do on the ship, she sees the bone and tries to play fetch with Spike to throw the bone and it's attached to the string and that like stops her and sets off the blades. So that way it's by accident, doesn't go against her knowledge, and she learns about it.
But it also implies that Spike can trigger it, though. I don't know
Well,
about
isn't that what
that.
happened when she was at the helm and asked Spike like activate the blades?
Is that what happened?
I thought so. Otherwise, you got to show how she knows herself how to activate it. I thought she has Spike to do it.
I just remember telling him to tie up the crew.
Yeah, I
Don't
only
know.
remember the tying up the crew,
Oh.
so I can't speak to that one
I
unfortunately.
thought Spike bit down on his bone, kind of by his launcher, and pulled, and that activated the spikes. Or blades. Shouldn't say spikes with a dog named Spike.
It could be. I don't remember well enough to say no to that. So maybe. I'll talk about the miraculous timing of Sinbad saving Proteus. Great timing. I did have to go frame by frame to see if it was feasible for him to throw that knife at the axe.
I didn't like
Uh,
it.
he half his body is up over the edge, so he could have leaned forward and threw it. So it is possible. Um, but I mean, it's last second save, movie moment.
Would his knife break the axe?
No, I mean
No,
it's a cartoon, so yes, but no, not in
Yeah.
real life.
so
It's
cartoon logic,
consistent with
yes.
Yeah, it's consistent with the cartoon logic we see most of the time, so I don't have an issue with it, but no, it wouldn't break the X in real life.
And the other part is, would it have fallen straight down onto Proteus or in front of Proteus? Probably on top of
Probably on top of him
Proteus.
because he's not angled. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, you don't know. The execution should be taken to practice swing.
Yeah, I think it would have
yeah.
been better if the dagger got stuck in the axe for the execution to pause, and then the reveal, and just use the axe again.
And it's not a very good spectacle.
Oh, to use a sword that explodes instead of an axe?
No, the spectacle of the axe landing in front of Proteus's face.
Oh, for the
That's
reflection, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, that looks good. But yeah, the poor executioner, his tools are getting wrecked. He lost his axe. He lost his sword. He lost his I forgot what those are called, but whatever the base is for the
Didn't he just get
execution.
disappeared as well? Like he just vanished as soon as Eris arrives? Did he lose his corporeal form?
He probably ran back to the
I
crowd.
don't
I
know.
don't, I don't know. He's not standing next to Sinbad, that's for sure.
Maybe you history buffs can help me because I didn't know the depiction. What's with the like statue soldiers in the realm of chaos? Is that a depiction of some kind of war story, folklore
I got
situation?
From
terracotta
I would not be able to help
vibes.
you. From I had that was my guess for this world specifically. I wouldn't have anything to point to from our world.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got terracotta warrior vibes, but those weren't terracotta warriors.
No. The terracotta warriors were in a cave.
Kind of.
They were in a cavern. If that's close.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, most there was stuff
there's
on
a
the outside, but
yeah, there's a lot of things that go missing in history. Like one of the interesting things I actually liked about the missing Spaniard fleet, it becomes a thing is the Telmarines in Narnia. Like I always appreciated that little bit of history sneaking its way into that, and then obviously the Roman legion that vanished. Uh, um, as well. So there's armies that disappear in history, but it's very rare. So I attribute that mostly to something in this world, is what I would guess. Some army disappeared and the goddess of chaos got
Wound
a
up
hold of it.
there. Okay.
But I've got nothing.
Okay. Or those, I don't know. Maybe she did a chaos thing on a trick in the past and they failed, and this is where they are damned to be, kind of thing.
Maybe there were once 13 great cities, you know.
Oh, little Hunger
Never know.
Games.
I mean, there was the book has been around for 1,000 years. That was talked about. So this could have been something before that book. This
Yeah.
could have been the forging of the book.
Who made the book? Yeah.
Who knows?
Did the other gods go
In
into
the
the book?
in the next 6 movies, we'll find out.
Ah.
Yeah, coming to you in 2030, like
I
Ryan
mean,
Johnson's Star Wars trilogy.
everything's getting sequels and revived. Why not?
Yeah, everything's getting rebooted. Yeah, live action Sinbad.
I might stand a better chance.
Brad Pitt reprising his role.
I
That would
think
be
he's too
awesome.
old.
He's too old
He
now.
probably is.
He could play the king.
I think they do. That's true. He could. I I was gonna make a joke. I think they do have a live action called Sinbad. I think it's called just Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
I suppose.
Well, supposedly there's like 7 Sinbad movies. I don't know if they're all like different stories of the same character version. And then there's a
And
TV show.
yeah, the story of Sinbad's an old tale. But yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
It's something about the king, and it's for laughs and stuff, I guess. Of Sinbad saying how much for the book or whatever, and the king just gives him a stern look of like, "Give it to me." I'm
You know,
like,
Sinbad, come on.
"What? You can't pay him, you know. I mean, you are a king, and he did get framed for this. It's not a crime he committed."
Yeah,
So
it's certainly one of those
I think
like
he sacrificed a marriage alliance at the end. I think he ended up paying his debt.
yeah, the kingdom is in your favor or whatever. It's like, oh, no money. Great. It's kind of how the like episode
I
2
do.
of Legend of Vox Machina ends, thinking they're getting a whole chest of gold, and it's like, oh, here's a deed to a house.
That's true.
all right,
I do quite like Marina and Sinbad's relationship as well. Uh, Obviously, Sinbad starts out very, very sexist, but a lot of it's like that comes across as just him trying to put on a face a lot of it the time because he's still ultimately a good person. At the end of the day, obviously, that's the point of the film. But I think I do enjoy the bickering, like the constant yelling and fighting at each other, yelling at each other in the when he has to thank her for saving the ship.
thank
Like
you.
his crew kind of bullies him into it. I enjoyed that.
You got peer pressured. I was just getting Iron Man vibes with it, really, with him and Pepper Potts.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know if I'd go that
Oh,
far, but
I mean, Tony was definitely like a womanizer in the
yes.
beginning.
womanizer, yes, but he wasn't overtly sexist. There's a big difference.
Yeah. And he did kind of treat everyone and not just Pepper that way. Like he did the same to Happy.
Suppose. I mean, he
Even
treated the
Obadiah
reporter experiment
treated the
too.
same. He didn't like put him on a pedestal.
So I mean, that was just something I wrote down at some point in my notes. Felt Iron Man vibes.
Interesting. Not what I would have compared him to, but I can see the archetype, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess another thing to jump to is back to the fish, the giant fish. We talked about the anglerfish like dangle bit on it, and when it goes underwater, it's nighttime. At which point I'm like, okay, so did they not realize roughly the time of day at this point? I don't know
Yes, it got
because it
dark
No, it's
was
real
just for the visual.
fast. So the angler or the fish's light was s- being a
They
sun.
confused it for the sun is how I interpreted that, which was very weird.
Yeah,
yeah,
because the shadows would have been off.
because you think they'd have a bearing on roughly the time of day.
The shadows would have been off, and before they even arrived at the island, they would see a giant, big
Yeah, or
fucking
see
bulb sticking
two
up from it.
suns.
Yeah.
It was angled just right.
Sure,
Uh,
possible.
Yeah.
Not wanting to
one in a
believe
million
it, but it
shot.
is possible.
And they didn't really succeed in getting the repair stuff for the boat, but the boat was still fine.
Also, that probably
Well,
would have
it was
blinded
mostly
them.
cosmetic damage that he was complaining about, right? Like the paint was scratched on the starboard, like
Oh, everything
Yeah, the
was
paint
damaged.
and
Yeah.
the railing. Pretty
yeah,
much,
some of the railings were dented and stuff like that, but it was mostly cosmetic because you could obviously still sail, and as long as the railing is still there and not big cracks going through it, you'll be fine.
I think we're about to interject something there.
Um, shoot. Yeah, I had something. Now I forgot
Alright.
it.
Well, feel free to jump somewhere else then.
Damn it. What was I going to talk about? Oh, the fish. Yeah, no, sorry, the light. The light on the fish. They would be blinded when the light got that close to them because if it's to display sunlight and they're on the boat sailing to the island and it's not getting dark around them, the light is then emitting so far off in the distance that they believe behind and this maybe not behind, but the left and right of them is daylight. So when it gets that close to them, they would be blind.
Probably. Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be more
No,
like a lighthouse thing.
no disagreement with that one.
There are 2 points
Uh,
in this movie that I laughed.
all right.
2 jokes. First joke, when Sinbad's talking about how he's going to get stabbed, and he almost got stabbed in his crotch region, and the guy comes out of the storage of the ship and screams pickles and eggs. Thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Second joke I liked is when they got to see the gate of the realm of chaos, and they realize the ocean stops, and one of the crew members looks over and goes, "Told you it was flat," and he gives him a handful of money.
It had
I mean,
also the bet of the crew bets a couple times in the film. The other one was betting that Sinbad would be able to rescue Marina, which I'm surprised that some of the crew members bet against Kale on that one.
True, but the bet,
Or maybe
the
that's
previous
not
ones,
defined, but
the previous ones have been 1 coin. It's kind of 1
yeah,
coin toss. This flat Earth one was like 6 coins.
yeah, because that's the big one.
Yeah.
They're sailors. Um, I think I one of my smaller nitpicks is that one of the things I didn't like is that Sinbad is obviously depicted to be very, very competent at what he does. So I got annoyed when his incompetency just caused action sequences. The biggest one for me is obviously when he's playing with the knife and that allows the bird to see them.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he's being
Didn't know
show
the bird was
offish.
going to be there, but
I know he did. That's why they were
sorry.
hiding.
Yep, all up on the mountain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are so yeah, when he's showing off, he shows off with knives multiple times in the film and stuff like that. But it always leads to something disastrous, which is annoying because I think that it's supposed to be a demonstration of his competency, but they keep tying it to his incompetency. And I think it would have been fine if the bird one was the only one, I wouldn't have had an issue. But because they do it a couple times throughout the course of the film.
Yeah.
He misjudged the height of the.
He's not learning from
sword wall.
mistakes. Because in his eyes, he doesn't necessarily see him as a mistake.
He knows he can get out of any situation.
That would have been
I
cool.
don't know.
Him to learn a lesson that it's a situation he can't get out of. I guess he kind of have it after the realm of chaos when he's talking to Marina, but
Kind of a crisis of identity of sorts.
Yeah.
Well, more like
More
I guess the
sin-
affirmation of his identity.
Yeah, I have a lot of little tiny complaints about the whole sequence with the bird, but generally I just dislike the sequence as a whole, objectively and subjectively.
Yeah, it's just another big action set piece.
Yeah,
The
it's like
chase
it's saved by being a
scene.
cartoon because there's obviously I consider a lot of that what happens in that even in that to be plot armor for even for a cartoon.
Yeah.
It was pretty extreme. Some of the drop offs they were landing.
Yeah.
There was a line usage that I wish was flipped. Not that either was removed, but they were changed. And that is the first instance with Eris and Sinbad's in the bubble and she's talking to him and she goes, "That's what I like about you, Sinbad. You have no heart," in the first conversation. Then later, when they're in the realm of chaos and like telling him to go after the book, she says, "Your heart, I like your heart because it's black like mine." I wish they were swapped. Because then
Yes.
she's saying he has a heart at this point.
Sure. I mean, she's spinning a tale in the bubble, so she knows he views himself as a bad boy, so building up his reputation
Yeah, I
to be
know
like an ego booster.
they're equal phrases, and both phrases necessarily mean the same thing. But stating one being present and then over the course of time losing it, I think would have fit better with going with the situation more so that you won't like you're not there for Proteus. Which Proteus is like putting his heart on the line there for Sinbad, and to bring it up, you don't have one. I think would have been a better hit in writing.
Yeah, I suppose so. That's a fine, like, minor tweak to it.
I agree. That would have been a nice tweak, I think. Usually a big fan
Uh,
of thoughtful echoes and stuff like that. So
Yeah. But in that case, like neither line has to be removed, just move them. Or sorry, removed, just moved.
something I wrote, which one of my fears is the open ocean. I don't like it, and I was just thinking how terrifying it would be to swim underwater and just have this giant woman right there. Isn't that terrifying? My gosh,
Well,
depends on the woman.
it depends on the
Next
person.
question.
that's
Crimson, there are
terrifying.
people in this world who think, who dream of that.
Yes, it's
It would be
in a
scary.
certain fashion, but not in reality.
Yeah, existentially, absolutely. I mean, especially if you're being dragged down, that's where I would get a lot of my fear factor from. Like if I'm personally swimming down there with swimming gear and shit like that, I wouldn't be as afraid, even though the surprise of some giant god woman suddenly being there would
Yes.
probably get fear out of me as an existential bit. But
I think the scary part is that it's living. It's not a statue. Because then
yeah,
it's kind of like jump scare. It's like, oh, okay, got it. No, it's living, breathing. You have no knowledge of what it's going to do.
Absolutely terrifying. And in this, Sinbad's not that scared.
No,
he takes it very well.
Yes, he does. Very good with the banter with her.
he's seen this stuff before.
It's just another
Uh,
adventure.
one of those things that wouldn't work. Well, I actually think it could work in real life, but it needs to be like heavily tailored. But obviously the gliding of using the sails to glide your ship out over the edge of the horizon, as it were,
Mhm.
works because it's a cartoon. In real life, I would want to test it not, with a schooner being the smallest sailing ship that you can get, and that's a quote unquote warship. But you would have to get like uh the amount of the cells from the biggest ship in the world, then you wouldn't your mast would have to be constructed differently.
Yes.
Mythbusters.
Do they have double sails? Like, is their sail overlapped? That's what I'm asking. Because they sail with one, but upon that part, there's
They
like
have
two
they have they
wings.
have two masts. They have two masts. They have a small sail at the front, a big one. They have the main one in the center, and then they have a small one at the back. So they have three sails. But I was definitely confused with how they managed to do that.
They made them look equal size.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's a continuity error. The sails aren't the same size for most of the film. Front one is a bit
and they did
smaller.
in 1 minute. So quick.
What?
And they made it in like 1 minute.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ship repair, 1 minute.
Like, guys, just throw down an anchor and well, I don't know how deep that water goes, but
Do they have an anchor? They don't have cannons.
yeah. Well, that's true. They don't have cannons.
This is true. We get like a reference tie-in line with uh, the line, "Are you a thief or a hero?" Uh, Marina brings it up to Sinbad earlier, and then Eris brings it up with the question at the realm of chaos. So I found that kind of an interesting callback
Yeah,
between those two.
I think he's both. You can be a heroic
Yeah,
thief and a thiever's hero.
he's kind of a forced hero. Yeah, but yeah, he's certainly both, I would say.
Um, Eris's question that she poses to Sinbad to test to get the book is solely the power of Eris herself and not a cosmic connection of sorts to the question to answer, correct? It's her choice freely to decide what it is he's saying.
He's
Uh,
bound by her word, but um I don't know the extent of the rules beyond that, to be
Okay.
honest.
I'm getting at there's no future scene sense. Like it's in the instance of the moment when he says it, it's a lie. But he does
Oh
follow
yeah,
through with it, and that's actually what happens in timeline order. So there's no like follow like this is his set path of what he will do, and he is going to do that.
I
It's
thought
oh,
upon
I
that
the
see what you're
moment
saying.
of belief. Sinbad saying it isn't believing, and Eris called it a lie, or was Sinbad actually? That whole part kind of confused me. Like Eris called it a lie, and Sinbad didn't fight back, so it's to be believed that he did lie.
He lied until he made the choice to go back. Like he didn't have it in his heart until he was standing there to committing to taking his friend's place.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something I've never been able to pinpoint, and I'm in the middle for that. I think they both work. Of the He was lying at the moment, and then he grew to do it,
Yeah.
or
Uh,
it was all ambiguous until the choice was
yeah,
presented
I
in
mean,
front
he
of him.
could have thought he was capable of it, but he's like, I won't have to do it anyway. So he wasn't committed to it. Because for me, I viewed it more as a test of conviction, not necessarily because, as she says, him being at the executioner's block is a part of the test. So I viewed the whole thing as a test. Therefore, I viewed his answer here as not necessarily superfluous, but more of a test of convictions. Like he hasn't because he's convinced that he'll get the book because he's just that suave. I viewed it more as like he didn't have the conviction to follow through with it yet.
But I
So
guess so
no, yeah, no. So I was gonna say, but I agree. I think both interpretations are valid.
So,
to iron
oh, go
it
ahead.
out. Um, do you guys think, regardless if he told the truth or not, the bridge was going to fall on him?
I'm leaning yes. I think it was Eris's full power and decision to do it, and there's no other
No,
being or god connected to weigh in the fate of time or whatever.
that was her way of fracturing his mind of thought to push him towards the
Begin the
self doubt.
test. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I do find it.
I
It's
uh,
not visually shown, but I do find it weird at the end of her surprise of like you tricked me kind of thing. For the whole journey back, she never saw he was heading there.
I mean, there's time for him to change his mind. That's why I went to the second it was going to hit his neck. Like he could have dove out of the way and run off. There's She waited to the last second for him to back out of it.
Okay, so she was really trying to call his bluff the entire time then?
Yeah, I mean, she wouldn't want to do it early and be like, and then he's like, "Oh, thanks for doing this early. I'm actually not going to go save him." So last possible moment.
Okay.
Yes, I do think the bridge would have collapsed on her in either case, and the reason is specifically is just because they gave an explicit line saying, "Oh, this is all a part of the test."
That's what Sinbad says about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and since this movie doesn't do much of subtlety, I'm just gonna take that as verbatim. That's what the
Yeah,
plan was.
sure. Like that's Sinbad's belief upon what occurred that he took, and not actually the power of Eris because he didn't have control over it.
So what do I want to talk about? I'll talk about, I guess, the visuals or the character designs. Springs, you and I talked slightly about how you kind of felt like Road El Dorado vibes
I did.
visually,
Yeah.
and I agree. It is similar vibes.
I mean, same animation
So,
team, and this is their direct next movie, so
well, yeah, but just because it's the same animation team doesn't mean
that's
they
true.
can't
It
change
doesn't
the
mean have to
style.
look the same.
Yeah. Uh, so I do see the parallels and similarities to it. In terms of the design of the characters, I think Sinbad looks like if you just looked at him, you know, all right, he's probably some pirate guy. He looks like a rebel rouser. So I think they did fine with that. He's kind of simple
And
in design, but it works.
not to bash on you, Crimson, but a color palette of red and black doesn't really sell good guy.
Sure, yeah. And then Proteus is blue, which is usually a good thing. Um, and he's all proper and like stiff and elegant. Sinbad's all like rounded and not sleek
Yeah, they
whatsoever.
animate their physicality differently, which is cool
Yeah,
to see.
broad shouldered.
Yeah, it's all very well done. Obviously, cream of the crop top is Eris design. The whole floaty hair, wispy, foggy aspects, like when she's pointing her finger at him and it just turns into wispy nothingness.
Yeah, shame she didn't get here before the recap. Is all I'm saying.
Oh,
Oh, would
uh,
she have made the list?
should have made my
She probably would have
list.
made an honorable mention. I think Death would still clearly clear her. Death and Sorcerer would still clear her, but she probably would have made it onto the list.
Franks, did you say something there?
What?
She'd be on your list.
She'd be
Did you
on
say
my
she'd be on your list?
she'd be on my list.
Yeah, I couldn't blame you.
Uh,
Probably on mine
not
if I had an animated one.
not though of her physical appearance, but of her
Her
character.
voice.
No, her character. Her trickster nature
That's,
is very attractive to me.
that doesn't surprise me. But no, yeah, she's
Her
pretty much the whole package.
her design is very simplistic in looks. It's just this pretty much
Purple dress.
purples. The only inconsistency I saw with her, and it could just be on the animation and whatnot of like the angles of the camera
Eyes.
movement to it, was her eyes. They would change um, um, the space between them would change, like the
Yeah, I
distance.
noticed that too. It
And
was very present.
she seemed to be the only character that had that.
It was very present at the end with the Proteus execution. Like they drifted apart, going opposite directions for a little bit when she's mad at Sinbad when she's big. But
Yeah.
I did see that as well. Yeah. Well,
And then Marina, fine, I
yeah,
think.
she's fine.
Kale, fine. Rat
Yeah,
was
he
the
looked like a rat.
the facial hair on him.
Yeah, Kale. I mean, they even made a joke about him being shirtless. So,
Oh yeah, put a shirt on. You're gonna poke someone's eye out with those.
yeah.
True.
Let's go with a writer point.
Sure. I funniest bit for me because we Springs brought up funny moments earlier. I think funniest bit for me outside of the banter and bickering was probably the look on the faces of like the leaders of the 12 cities when they realized Eris was real. Like I think they believe you now.
Oh, when his helmet fell off.
Yeah.
Mouth
When all of them are
open.
just staring like wide eyed, like what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. A little bit of character to the council with that. So it's these grumpy grumps.
Yeah, they're not inherently evil. They're just doing their job.
Yeah. They have laws and rules.
I do feel
They
bad
follow.
for Proteus's dad though. Proteus's dad must have like had a heart attack the entire time.
Yeah, his son's
He tried.
deliberately dying for a guy the dad didn't know since 10 years ago. Just because
Yeah, he
Proteus
was
saw him
upset about
twice doesn't
that.
mean the dad has.
Yeah, I mean, he said he paid off the proper guards, and that some were asleep. Put in the effort. He got the escape plan, and as we said, loyal, noble Proteus
I
to
can
die.
see where Proteus gets it all from.
Yes, he's loyal to his son's survival, I guess. Sprinks.
I know it's like real fast, and I think it's okay, but the Executioner's axe breaking to then the next scene of Sinbad leaning over, I'm just gonna go with its time cut, even though it does seem lined up next to Proteus that he turns and falls for the Executioner to just have a sword. Then it kind of feels like the sword came out of nowhere by
I
how it's
guess.
You
like
know
the
what bothers me is that nobody spotted his ship sailing into harbor. That bugged me.
Oh, well,
What bugged me more is the grapple no one noticed or heard.
the grapple making no
Oh
noise.
yeah,
I'll
on
go with that.
stone.
But
Yeah.
the ship coming into
Yeah.
harbor, it kind of feels like someone entering Minas Tirith or Tirith, writer
Minas Tirith.
Minas Tirith. Thank you. Of like being up by the tree, they can't see any. Like if they look down, they could, but they won't know until they're there.
Okay, well, my issue with that is they clearly made Sinbad's ship very distinct from everybody else's, so they would see the red sails. Like, because Proteus's ship has blue sails, so
But
and the
there,
ships that we see in the all the on the harbor as well also all have blue sails. So my issue is that you would be able to identify it in theory just from a distance because they color padded everything so well.
If they looked at that
But it's
direction,
for
they
the
would.
sake of the drama,
yeah.
obviously, that he's revealed.
Yeah.
Like like in your example, Springs, I would agree. You wouldn't be able to see the Rohirrim emblem from the top of Minas Tirith
I'm like
when they arrive to
from a
battle.
viewpoint
But
of where you're standing. Like how far back do they have to be on the execution ground to not like? Can the king from where he's standing see the ocean line from how high up they are
that you can see it in certain shots, s-
from his
but
perspective
and that would
or
not.
standing point?
Yeah, but my issue is that like, why wouldn't guards see it? Or other people that aren't standing on the platform with them. There would have been plenty of
Down
opportunity for people
below, yeah.
to see. Yeah, there have been plenty of opportunity for someone to just report, "Hey, Sinbad's ship is back." It's for the drama, just a tiny nitpick. I get why it's not that way, but
Well, everyone was at this execution, and it was killing the
it
prince.
was the prince. Yeah,
You
Yeah.
know, a good point.
He's having
Who's
a big moment.
who's coming to storm the castle when the event is killing the prince?
Yeah,
I
there you
mean
go.
that's just I just take issues with the guards, or there would still be guards that wouldn't have noticed and reported it. And like I
They've
said,
had
it's
a
just a nitpick.
thousand
I don't. It's not a
criticisms.
large issue.
Yeah.
Um, I do like the look on Proteus's face when Sinbad's like, "I tried my best." You know, he's there to take his place.
Yeah, it's just again, it's what you touched on a while ago. It's just like the friendship the two have for the 10-year time jump and just putting all this trust and friendship of each other still.
Yeah,
It just seemed
I mean, they needed to. What I needed is I needed them to get together at the party and spend time together
yeah,
without Proteus having to introduce his
like
fiance.
it's
That's
not
that is the time to inject actual space together.
yeah,
You know?
I couldn't call it out of character because there is no previous character to base it upon.
Yeah.
But it just seems going AWOL for 10 years. It's not a blink of an
There's like I
eye.
said, there's not a consistency with that. I agree. It definitely needed to do something that needed to be strengthened. I think it works in like the most loosest way possible.
Yeah. It really sells that 10 years prior, Sinbad would lay his life down for Proteus at any given moment of trust. If
Yeah,
Proteus
I
is
mean,
able
I'd
to do the
buy it.
same.
I'd buy it for the whole criminal life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
guess
am out of points, by the way. That was it.
Gasp.
I was gonna ask that soon. Uh, the I guess the banquet that Sinbad interrupts. I guess.
Yeah.
And
Oh yes, you reminded me of one of my points.
oh well, take it so I don't.
Oh, okay. They had the joke of the unlimited weapons. And it was shorter than in Pirates, but obviously in Pirates it's kind of a bit sexualized too. So,
It came out first. I'm sure something
uh,
was before this, but
no, the Pirates one's in World's End, so this definitely came first.
Yeah.
yes.
But I appreciated the joke because it's always for me that's always a classic. I love it when that happens. So it made me smirk. It doesn't get me to laugh anymore, but I still smirk at it.
Ooh, you've just tickled my fancy on a movie I'd love to show you guys.
Add it to the list. Sure, you've got a long one.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is my point. So I'll take it away, Crimson.
Yeah, so we get the introduction of Sinbad with uh, Marina, and I guess Proteus to an extent in his environment. And I think it was well done. It's a little on the quick side because you get Sinbad reacting to seeing her, which being there he would have known she would have been there. He knew they were going to get married at some point.
Yeah.
So you get good visual storytelling to where something's up with him and her. He didn't react, so as an
Yeah.
audience, you're like, okay, it's something to do with him, not necessarily her. Um, and then later, Kale is on it too.
Yeah, and then I think they follow through with that too, with him seeing her on the ship. You get a lot of emotions that play across his face while she's like digging around in the captain's quarters that we don't get the context to until later.
Yeah,
But they do a good job of building up to it. I think there's a lot of like care of emoting groundwork on the animation.
yeah, I agree.
Sorry, I just
So
piggybacked off you.
Yeah.
no, that's good. Anything to add or your points?
My points, frankly, I feel like I've also gone through the same. I only had 1 page of notes for this movie, and being with how much you guys have shared, I don't think I have anything else. I think the one last point I have is could have happened in previous parts of the movie, but I got it at the end when Sinbad's on his boat and he's hanging off the side on the rope. It reminded me of Spirit, of the background hand drawn over the black outlined motion animation. And when the camera's behind showing Sinbad's back, the rope on the side of the ship is that background look, meaning Sinbad's fingers were separately animated overlapping it and not as a whole animation piece together. Whereas when the shots are the front of Sinbad looking onto the horizon, the rope is now black outlined as a full animation piece or
I'll
layered
do you one even
piece.
better. And the door that he stabs open to
Oh yeah, with
enter
the
the
dagger.
boat. Yeah, that's also the like background asset interacting with
Oh, and the dagger disappears into like the keyhole.
his knife.
So they cut
Yeah,
the animation by frame of the. That's cool.
yeah. So yeah, good stuff there.
Oh come on, Ryder,
And I
don't let me
remember
down.
how much you loved that in Spirit.
Yes, the
So now you
Apple
have two
thing was awesome.
examples through DreamWorks. Guess
Unfortunately,
they
the
had a
only thing I
plan.
remember about Spirit now is just the
The
horse
train.
animation.
Yeah.
No,
No.
Oh, the horse.
no, I don't think we ever showed you Springs.
No.
It's when Ryder and I watched it afterwards, since he missed out.
Yeah, PNG horse.
Yeah, very funny.
It's
Um,
hilariously bad.
it's crazy.
I knew that.
Um,
Yeah, it's okay.
yeah. I've got maybe another one. I guess I quite like the crew interaction with Marina. They obviously accept her much quicker than
Immediately.
Sinbad does. Yeah. It's a nice. It forms a nice kind of comedic dynamic going forward with the crew like being more supportive of Marina than of him. So I think it's not that he gets jealous, but it's a bit of fun.
Yeah, I mean it gets to Sinbad a bit. especially when he feels peer pressured for the apology and stuff,
Yeah.
like we mentioned, and them swooning over her.
Feeds into some of the more funny character bits.
Let's see. I guess two small things I have left is Sinbad refers to the first monster, Cetus, as Lobster Boy, and I was just like, why did they use lobster? It's
Doesn't
clearly
look
like a
anything
squid.
like a wop. Yeah.
It's like a squid or something of that nature. So I was like, well, that's kind of dumb wording for that one.
Didn't even
And
have
then
claws.
no, there was nothing lobster about it
I don't
other
know.
than
Maybe just an
ocean creatures.
ugly insult.
Could be, could be. You
We're
darn
lucky that
cuttlefish.
yeah, really that's true. Uh,
And then at timestamp 23 minutes and 4 seconds, slight animation error when Sinbad is getting his handcuffs removed. The cuffs go through his hands.
Like Elsa hair. Oh.
Yeah, like that. Pretty much the only thing of that movie I've seen.
Oh,
Uh,
Frozen? The Elsa hair.
yeah, just that error. Yeah, I think that is all I have. Anything else pop out to you guys? Are you guys ready to move on?
Well, Crimson, I gave my favorite laughing jokes. Ryder gave his. What was yours?
Favorite laughing jokes. It's not really like a laughing movie to me, honestly.
I guess just the
Uh,
funniest bit to you.
I guess it would be the pickles and eggs, the adult joke one, not the "we have pickles and eggs down here for you to eat."
Okay.
So it's like, I guess it's a setup joke that they have pickles and eggs
They
for
do you,
that joke.
is the setup just for that joke?
I mean, I
Like, why
guess.
is there setup to begin with? So it doesn't feel like they're out of the blue?
I mean, it's better to have setup than no setup, I guess. And it doesn't feel like shoehorned in that you just tucked her in with Spike's living quarters.
Okay. Sure.
And I don't know what would be common food for them to eat. Is pickles and eggs a
Fish.
common thing? Well, yeah, you got that, but like stored food, because fish will go rotten. So, don't know. All right, then we will jump into our ratings, and I'm curious to hear from Ryder first.
all right. The world building isn't as well flushed out as I'm gonna do my objective first. The world building isn't as well flushed out as I would like it to be. Um, but it is there. We have questions about the book. Not really sure about the magic system. I don't really have any basis for the magic system, which is usually my argument when it comes to softcore hands-off magic systems. Um, so you know, the the basis for how it works is that it can heal and repair a singular city, as far as I know, and also destroy the city when it's closed for some reason. Again, I don't know. It's evidently the first time the book has ever been in the city, judging by their father has prepared for the book's arrival his whole life, or lying and stuff like that. Um, Eris, messing around with the world as far as like little bits of her magic, mostly fits. I think the world itself is fairly consistent being cartoony. They don't really break that physicality much throughout the course of the film. If there was, it's very minor. And most of it I think has been arguable to be just because it's a cartoon and it can work that way, and I think it does. The plot is fairly by the numbers kind of, well, so what works in the plot is that it's mostly character driven. It's kind of like an obstacle to obstacle kind of story. Um at a certain point. Even though even the opening is very much in the same vein of obstacle obstacle. It's very much facilitated by a lot of luck, plot armor, and necessity. It's lucky that there's not 1,000 ships guarding the Book of Peace. Must not be that important. There must not be much going on internecine strife between the 12 cities for it to be a single ship. Um, it's it's kind of random how Sinbad finds it. We're not really sure how he found it, tracked it down, whatever. We just have to assume that he's a good pirate, which I guess can speak to some character building on the movie's part, trying to expedite it. Um, Proteus kind of went over it. A lot of the plot relies on him just accepting his fate, more or less, to be in place of Sinbad. I've gone over my issues that I do think Proteus is a good character. I so much more history needs to be added in for context as to how and why he can make this choice, and why he feels so confident in it. And that too would also help with fleshing out the weight of the book and why he needs to make the sacrifice for the book and things like that. The crew, I'm just gonna rate them collectively. Mostly gimmicky, okay. They're mostly there for laughs. Kale's kind of knows Sinbad better than he does if he's gonna be the golden heart all the way through. He comes through in the end, obviously. Eris, I was torn on. I think you guys have pulled me over to it mostly being okay. It's raises a lot of questions. And this is very dangerous as far as I'm concerned, is if you can just explain someone, oh, they're just crazy and want to do something. I always raise an eyebrow at that. I think it's in line, in that she just wants to cause chaos because she's literally the goddess of discord. Not the chat service, but I think she's okay. I've been moved over to it being okay. I had a lot of character issues with her planning and everything else because she can physically interact with the world. A lot relies on the notion of she's just the goddess of chaos. And while I don't see that as a great excuse, it is nonetheless an excuse. So it's a good enough band-aid, I think, in this instance. Sinbad, kind of classic archetype, roguish with the heart of gold. A lot of his best scenes, I think, are balanced between him and Proteus and him and Marina. I think he's fairly a consistent character. I don't necessarily have anything wrong. I think my biggest issue with as far as his consistency was the competency that he displays and drops for the sake of humor or causing a next action sequence or plot to happen. Marina, biggest issue with her is she's almost too quickly accepted into the ship and can do things almost too quickly. I think otherwise I'm fine with her being sassy back at Sinbad, since obviously they are fighting for a large portion of the start of the film. Overall, I think I'm settled on a 6. I've been balanced between that and a 5, and I'll settle on a 6 for now. I think it's in the average area. I wasn't exactly impressed by the film, and it's very thin. A lot of the defenses. I'm talking myself down to a 5.
Yeah, a 5.5 is feasible.
Yeah, I'm gonna do 5.5. I'm gonna go right in the middle. Subjectively, it was a lot of fun. Don't think I'm gonna watch it again. I'm not gonna go out of my way to watch it again, but I'm not against watching it again, so I won't like fight tooth and nail. So I think, but I still had a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself more than I didn't. I'm a sucker for swashbuckling rogues and things like that. So I think I'm at a 7 subjectively. No, I'll do 6.5. I'm a 6.5 subjectively.
Darn it, you went down a whole point collectively. All right. Let's go with Sprinks next.
Oh boy,
I know.
I know the Crimson's gonna be like, that affects the whole average, because it does. Let's see. I'll start with my objective. I think the voice acting was good. I think the animation was good. I think the story was fine. It is a little clunky in pacing. It did feel like the snowbird part was shoehorned out of the three of the sirens, the fish, and the snow. Seemed the most out of place because it just felt like a whole new location because of the snow and travel, which does kind of merit the whole course back situation feel. So it just made it feel off. Um, but the overall like character interactions and how people are going about the situation and how the world is, and um, Eris just able to drop. See, that was a question, I guess, that just like dropping Cetus from heaven or whatever, or from space into the water, and no one noticed it. I don't know if that was visual for anyone on either ship to be able to be seen, or it was too small to be picked up, or I don't know, like Marina and the Snowbird and just didn't see it. Um, but if Eris can just do that willy nilly for years, probably prior past the Book of Peace of 1,000 years prior doing it, then maybe it's just common or whatever. Someone blinks and it just happens, but no one knows what it is. I don't know. So I guess the world building of the god is the most questionable stuff because she looks at Earth as a whole, whether that's legitimately Earth she's looking at or that's just like a like quote unquote hologram of Earth to size or whatever. Um, so that's the big question for me. Where the other gods, is she the only god? Why the worship and whatnot? But she's just having fun. She's just being a little prankster, and maybe that's endearing to me. But moving on, the lighting. I think the shadowing on the animation of scenes of characters is good. What I did pick out as a, I haven't brought it up yet, but I saw is just a slight continuity, which goes with the animation, but they could have been changed, I guess. Is the scene that stood out the most to me is when Marina is kind of manipulating Sinbad to not go to Fiji and actually go to the realm of chaos to help out Proteus, and the light, because they're on the ocean and the ship is rocking. In the background, the light coming in through like the windows is moving to the room. However, the shadows on Marina and Sinbad are stagnant to them standing. Um, so I saw that as a consistency error. And that happens a couple times throughout the movie. But the depiction of sirens and monsters and everything across like this fantasy world is cool. What have I missed? The writing, I said like a couple tweaks here and there, but nothing terrible. I think pacing's the worst thing. Uh, yeah. I feel like I forgot something. Cinematography, I guess animation's always hard for me because it's kind of like the drawn out and not actually hand movement or tracked. But good with the action, good with the tone. The romantic bits were good. Um, keeping it still and doing the classic over the shoulder cut to cut without actually being like focused on one head at a time. Which I do think is good, even though the one head is good for emotional beats, but for a cartoon, unless you're doing crying or really animating the facial features, it's not necessarily needed, and the reaction of the other character over the shoulder and everything to the response of words is probably better to get across to an audience, especially younger audience, to get feelings across. And I think the big, not big problem, but I didn't sit real comfortable with me with Proteus being such a big friend of Sinbad after 10 years of absence that he's like, you know what, my girlfriend that I was going to marry can be yours. And, that's how good of a friend I am. So it's a real big friendship movie, but it's a Mr. Steal Your Girl movie. And I don't know. So, and that was, that goes into the writing like all written in. So objectively, I have it at a 7. I think it's overall well done. Subjectively, I had fun with it. Not necessarily the best movie. I think I like Road to El Dorado a little more than this, just because of the vein. This movie did give me a lot of Treasure Planet vibes of just like pirating and ship, and especially the end bit with the gate opening up, and that felt very Treasure Planet, like getting into the treasure of where they need to go and then leaving. So yeah, I watched it again. I give it a 6.5.
All right.
Yeah, you
I'm
reminded
pretty
me of a
happy.
bunch of no,
I was going to say, I'm pretty happy that I guessed Sprinks' rating.
No.
I was pretty happy.
I was gonna guess it reminded you a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean in veins, from what Ryder
Talking to
was
me or
about to
Rick?
say.
no. I was you reminded me of a lot of the plot issues while you were going through it. I'm actually gonna lower myself to a 5
Oh, sweet.
on objective stuff because I was thinking about your pacing argument and you brought out, and then I remembered Crimson's point about why didn't they just sail around the Sirens
Oh,
Island
the
and
dragon teeth,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, yeah, and then obviously the bird showing up. Yeah, there's a few plot issues and pacing issues that I kind of forgot. So I'm
It's
gonna lower it to a
clanky.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it,
Eris
it
got
dropped a
better
full
for you.
point.
But Eris
Yeah,
got better for you, so they bumped it up to a 5.5, right?
no, Eris being okay is what keeps this out of a 4.5.
All right. I will go next. Being the last one, of course. I will start with my subjective. I've seen it quite a few times. Like I said, 6, 7-ish range. Eris was definitely a childhood crush for a 2D character. Uh, reasons like Sprinks, reasons like Ryder. She's kind of the whole package. Uh, so kind of got a little love for the movie for that aspect alone. But I do really like the brotherly bond between Proteus and Sinbad. I think it's like the most bro thing I've seen. Specifically through Proteus. Obviously Sinbad had to go through a whole journey to be a good friend back to him, but Proteus, man, wild guy. Uh, and I, like I said, it's not like a laughing movie to me. I don't. It's just like a popcorn film. I'm fine watching it. So I'm at a 7. I do find enjoyment out of it, and I'll probably watch it again. Objectively, my score did lower through the coverage of it.
Nice going, Ryder.
I mean, it was kind of all three
I
of us.
accept this.
It's kind of all three of us because I didn't really think about the God side of things that Sprinks pointed out. Like, is Eris alone, and what's her place in this world? And we did dissect it, and I think we're at a comfortable place to where we can accept that she's there. We cannot necessarily define whether there's other gods because we don't have proof other than Sinbad saying pray to the gods, but that can just be a belief system and not actually gods being present. Um,
And if there's only
and
one God present, the God of chaos, upon this whole mortal plane, I would believe that this whole world, after all these years, would be more in shambles than it is.
yes, and we'd have to believe that she created the earth or something, right? If she's the only god, then
Yeah, possibly.
God typically creates things in stories. So I would think there's other gods, and it begs the question: where are they? Do they care? Do they not care? Are they like the gods in Ruby, where they kind of just up and left, and she's the only one that's stuck around?
Is this
Um,
Earth actually Earth, or is it just her plaything?
right? I mean, so many questions we could have, but at the end of the day, they don't leave answers, and they leave enough of a gap to where it's not like wholly like damaging to it, but it is something that would be better with its implementation. So the gods thing from Sprinks kind of lowered it a little bit. Um, the snow owl bit or bird, snowbird, that whole bit being enlarged, pretty much removable because it doesn't really impact the characters all that much. It's just a thrown in shoehorn thing, just to regurgitate what everyone said already. uh, yeah, I'm just going to be treading over a lot of the similar points, but I think all the characters are well defined, and I think Sinbad's growth as a character is pretty solid. He's not a quick turnaround at all. Um, quick as in like early in the film. It is drawn out throughout the whole film, and I do feel the natural progression with Marina wearing him down, his shield getting lowered. his like crushing defeat, getting to the realm of chaos, and realizing to himself that he's still a bad guy, even though he's starting to turn around. But it was all part of a test, anyways. We brought up the animation of like a cartoon and how it fits in this world, and I do think they are consistent with itself. I think the biggest one, or two for me, is the axe not landing on Proteus after it got chopped. I'm fine with it getting chopped, but it landing doesn't make sense even in a cartoon setting. Um, and the masts um, getting repaired quickly off screen, and that there was no sails attached to them that Ryder pointed out that I didn't notice.
Crimson,
Yes.
to the axe. If the dagger is coming forward at it and hits at an angle and splinters, rather than the axe head taking full weight forward and bending where the wood would go, would it actually lean more to the left from the impact of the dagger to lean actually ahead of Proteus? I know it's really silly and would not actually happen in real life, but is that like an implement that could?
If anything, it would carry the momentum of the direction of the knife, and it would go more towards his back, not towards his front. So, no, I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think that would fix it. I think that would potentially make it even worse. Yeah, and I already talked about the animation earlier. I think is solid, especially Eris. The plot is pretty bare bones. It's your kind of run of the mill adventure film, or like a run of the mill kids adventure film. So I was going into this with a 7, and I'm at a 6.5 now. Anything before Ryder takes us out?
Countered our scores.
Yeah, I mean it's a deliberation, you know.
It happens.
Part of the fun.
Yep.
All right, shall I read us out, gentlemen?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening, audience, whether it be Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, Podcast, and Samsung, and even be our visual side of things, be it YouTube or Rumble. Thank you for watching our PNG Duper slideshow there. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe everywhere. Tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. And as always, I've been a geeky writer.
I'm Crimson and
And I'm Springs.
We will talk to you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo.